Chapter 3893. Jiu Fei was a martial supremacy. His martial body was invincible. Even supremacies with innately powerful bodies were nothing more than puny fellows in front of Jiu Fei. Boom! Jiu Fei punched out. There were no fluctuations of divine power, but the void in front of his fist was annihilated soundlessly. Li Changtian was sent flying thousands of miles away. Li Changtian was both shocked and furious. At this moment, he finally understood that Curmudgeon Chu's defeat wasn't unjust. Jiu Fei was simply a monster. He was actually this strong. He had been very confident, but now, in front of Jiu Fei, he couldn't muster up any more confidence. The sound of bones breaking could be heard from Li Changtian's body. Countless cracks appeared on his exposed skin, as though it was about to fall apart. 5 elements undying body. Li Changtian roared. An immortal divine light of life erupted from his body. The countless cracks on his body quickly disappeared. In just 2 breaths' time, Li Changtian's cultivation base and battle strength were restored to their peak state. Even the injuries he had sustained earlier were healed in an instant. Jiu Fei's eyes couldn't help but narrow when he saw this. Li Changtian had actually cultivated such a life-saving technique. He could sense the changes in Li Changtian's body. In that instant, Li Changtian's body had erupted with an unprecedentedly powerful 5 elements life force. It was this 5 elements life force that had instantly healed Li Changtian's injured body. As Li Changtian's 5 elements physique recovered to its peak state, his 5 elements clones also became stronger. However, even though Li Changtian's 5 elements clones' battle strength had greatly increased, they still weren't a match for the middle-aged man in hemp robes. Even the Li clan's 2nd and 3rd progenitors weren't enough. The middle-aged man seemed to be casually attacking, but the Li clan's 2nd and 3rd progenitors were constantly sent flying. The 3rd progenitor's physical body was continuously destroyed by the middle-aged man. Only Li Changtian's 5 elements clones could exchange a few blows with the middle-aged man, but they were still sent flying. All the supremacies who witnessed this scene were indescribably shocked. They couldn't believe that this fellow, shrouded in an aura of death, was actually a supremacy-lord existence. Only existences at the supremacy level could suppress these 3 powerhouses. The Li clan is in trouble this time. Someone whispered. The current situation was very unfavorable for the Li clan. It should be known that Jiu Fei was also a supreme lord. This was equivalent to Li Changtian fighting 2 supreme lords by himself. No matter how strong Li Changtian was, he basically had no chance of winning against 2 supremacies. With 2 supremacies joining hands, it wouldn't be difficult for them to destroy the Li clan. Some people were talking in low voices. At this moment, no one was optimistic about Li Changtian. Boom! Just as the 2 supremes of the Li clan and Li Changtian's 5 elements incarnations were about to give in, a monstrous blood energy suddenly surged forth from afar. An incomparably huge blood hand grabbed out towards the middle-aged man in hemp robes. When the group of supreme beings saw this, they could not help but be shocked. Why did even this person take action? The crimson sarcophagus shook, and the crimson figure condensed from the endless evil chi suddenly seemed to come to life. A terrifying supremacy-level divine might erupted from its body. Another supremacy? The group of supreme beings was already numb. What kind of world was this? Normally, there would not be a single supremacy in millions of years. Now, there were actually 4 supremacies. If the Sky Clan Old Clan Master and Old Monster Chu were included, wouldn't there be 6 supremacies in the entire southern region of the Ancestral Realm? There had never been so many supremacies in the southern region of the Ancestral Realm. It should be known that even a mountain could not accommodate 2 tigers, let alone supremacies. The Ancestral Realm was boundlessly vast, and even supreme beings did not know how vast it was. However, no matter how vast the southern region of the Ancestral Realm was, it could definitely accommodate 6 supremacies. The middle-aged man in hemp robes did not speak. He directly attacked. The power of death surged from his hand and transformed into a divine sword of death that slashed at the incoming crimson hand. The sword of death seemed to be indestructible as it directly split the blood-red hand in half. The sword of annihilation emitted by the sword of death turned in the void and directly slashed towards the blood-red figure. Clang! The sound of metal clashing resounded from the crimson stone coffin. Then, blood-colored Tao patterns appeared on the stone coffin. A blood-colored Tao pattern rushed out of the stone coffin and transformed into a blood-colored spear that soared into the sky. It directly blocked the descending sword of death. The sword of death conjured by the middle-aged man in hemp robes clashed with the spear formed by the Tao patterns that rushed out of the blood-colored stone coffin. This was a battle between the two powers of death. The vast and mighty power of death formed a storm of death that spread out in all directions. The surrounding supreme beings hurriedly retreated far away. If they were affected by the power of death, it would be no laughing matter. If they came into contact with a wisp of the death aura of a supremacy, they would definitely lose their lives. At this moment, the two primogenitors of the Li clan and Li Changtian's 5 elements clones took advantage of the battle between the two supremacies to retreat. Li Changtian's 5 elements clones rushed towards Li Changtian, wanting to merge with him and increase his battle prowess. Ji Fei punched out and directly sent the 5 elements clones flying. This shocked and angered Li Changtian. He had never encountered such a powerful opponent. Even the old clan lord of the Sky Clan did not have such battle prowess as Ji Fei. After today, regardless of victory or defeat, there would definitely be a place for Ji Fei in the southern region of the primogenitor realm. Major 5 elements reincarnation. Li Changtian roared. His entire body actually transformed into an incomparably huge 5 elements wheel, instantly enveloping the entire void. An extremely terrifying power directly enveloped Ji Fei. Ji Fei only felt his body tighten. His entire body involuntarily soared into the sky, flying towards the incomparably huge 5 elements wheel in the sky. What? Ji Fei was shocked. Li Changtian actually had this trick up his sleeves. He was not a 5 elements sovereign, but a reincarnation sovereign who had cultivated the great Tao of reincarnation. This was an incredible great Tao that controlled reincarnation and could determine one's life and death. Once the power of reincarnation was unleashed, no matter how powerful he would still be thrown into reincarnation. Since ancient times, the most mysterious and unfathomable power had been the power of reincarnation. At this moment, the power of the 5 elements reincarnation took effect on Ji Fei. In the next moment, Ji Fei felt the world spinning around him. It was as if he had entered another world, and he was in a daze. You want to throw me into reincarnation? Ji Fei still maintained a trace of consciousness. He had not truly sunk into it. However, at this moment, Ji Fei felt as though he was in someone's embrace. The warmth of the embrace made him want to continue sleeping. It was the embrace of a woman. Intuition told Ji Fei that this was his closest relative. Mother! Ji Fei wanted to open his eyes to take a look, but he found that even if he did, all he could see was a blur. He could not see his mother's appearance at all. Although he knew that all of this was fake, he had an urge to continue sinking into it. He did not want to wake up. Ji Fei had never known who his parents were. Before he could understand anything, he was brought back to the Taishan sect by his master, Wn Xiancheng. To him, his master was his father. He did not expect that Li Changtian would be able to touch the deepest memories of his soul. This was a memory from when he was still an infant. Even Ji Fei would not remember this memory. It would be sealed in the deepest part of his soul. What's going on? Ji Fei still maintained a trace of consciousness. He wanted to know who his parents were, but even his master, Wn Xiancheng, did not know about his past. And now, his master, Wn Xiancheng, had fallen a long time ago. Even the Taishan sect had disappeared. If Ji Fei wanted to know about his past, he would have to search for it in the memories of his soul that had been sealed for a long time. At this time, just as Ji Fei's consciousness fell into the cycle of reincarnation, in the outside world, Ji Fei was suppressed by the 5 elements wheel of reincarnation. The power of the 5 elements and the power of reincarnation acted on his body at the same time. Ji Fei's martial body did not move. However, even though the destructive power that erupted from the 5 elements wheel of reincarnation became stronger and stronger, it could not hurt the martial body at all. Whoosh! The 5 elements incarnation that had been blown away by Ji Fei's punch finally rushed over and instantly merged with the 5 elements wheel of reincarnation. Buzz! The 5 elements wheel of reincarnation began to vibrate. Countless patterns of the 5 elements and mysterious reincarnation patterns emerged from the wheel and intertwined. Seeing this scene, all the supreme beings were dumbfounded. The originally powerful and invincible Ji Fei was actually suppressed by the 5 elements wheel of reincarnation created by Li Changtian. He was motionless. Oh no! When the shooting sun supreme and the others saw this, their expressions changed. Ji Fei had placed a restrictive spell on their bodies. Once Ji Fei perished, the restrictive spell on their bodies would be activated. Their bodies and souls would be destroyed and they would die instantly. What should we do? The Black Wind Supreme was no longer calm. He did not want to be buried together with Ji Fei. What are you panicking for? Do you think our master has lost? The Thunder Dao Supreme glanced at the Black Wind Supreme and said coldly. The Black Wind Supreme looked at the Thunder Dao Supreme and did not say anything. Even if Ji Fei was really going to be defeated, he would not dare to say it. All right. We have to believe in our master. The Shooting Sun Supreme came out to mediate. The Thunder Dao Supreme looked at the Shooting Sun Supreme coldly and did not say anything. These people did not know how powerful and terrifying their master was. Although Li Changtian was powerful, Ji Fei was not someone to be trifled with. Ji Fei's martial body was unimaginably powerful. Even a great killing weapon like the 5 elements wheel of reincarnation couldn't damage it at all. Our master's physical body is simply much stronger than immortal divine metal, someone exclaimed. Chapter 3894. Li Changtian was really going all out. He didn't hesitate to use his own body to form the 5 elements samsara wheel. He wanted to beat Ji Fei into the samsara wheel and completely obliterate Ji Fei there. However, Ji Fei's strength had far exceeded his expectations. Ji Fei's ultimate martial body was even stronger than the strongest extreme Dao weapon. Moreover, he was wearing the sky blue immortal gold battle armor. Even if Li Changtian used his full strength, he wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Rumble, high up in the sky, the 5 elements samsara wheel was vast and mighty, completely drowning Ji Fei. The endless power of the 5 elements obliterated Ji Fei, constantly weakening his protective light. The mighty power of a supremacy caused all the other supremacies to retreat in fear of being affected by the samsara wheel. If they were beaten into the samsara wheel, their souls would scatter and they would become a soulless walking corpse. At this moment, Ji Fei was in a strange state. His soul was undergoing the samsara wheel, but his physical body was still undying, blocking the 5 elements samsara wheel. Li Changtian wanted to obliterate Ji Fei's soul and martial body, so that Ji Fei would completely disappear from this world. This Li Changtian is really ruthless. The mad Taoist's expression turned even more solemn when he saw this. He had thought that Li Changtian was unlucky, but now it seemed that Li Changtian still had a chance to turn the tables. This battle between supremacies was really full of surprises. No one could guess the outcome of this battle. Right now, it seemed like Ji Fei was at a disadvantage, being completely suppressed by Li Changtian. But who knew if Ji Fei would turn the tables again and beat Li Changtian? Li Changtian has used his final trump card. At this time, a figure appeared in the sky. Beside him stood a white-robed youth. Old ancestor, who do you think will win this battle? The white-robed youth, Tian Gan, asked the Celestial Clan leader respectfully. That's hard to say. The Celestial Clan leader muttered. Until the very end, even he wouldn't be able to guess the outcome of this battle. Even the old ancestor couldn't see the outcome of this battle. Tian Qian couldn't help but be extremely shocked. In his heart, this ancestor of his was absolutely one of the most formidable existences in the Southern Territory and even the entire ancestral realm. Could it be that this Ji Fei was so powerful that even the old ancestor couldn't see through him? Tian Gan was the most outstanding existence among the younger generation of the Sky Clan. His cultivation had already reached the mid-level of the Supremacy Realm, and he was much stronger than the average Supremacy Realm cultivators. His cultivation was even higher than that of old monster Chu's Daoist boy. At this time, Ji Fei's soul was experiencing an indescribable reincarnation cycle. He seemed to have become a newborn baby, held in his mother's arms and carefully cared for. He had never experienced such a thing before. He also didn't know his own identity. To him, this was the most regretful thing in his life. One had to know that all living beings in the 3 realms and 6 paths had parents. He wasn't born from a rock, so he naturally had parents as well. However, there was probably no one in the current world who knew who his parents were. However, this didn't mean that there was no way to find out who Ji Fei's parents were. With Ji Fei's current cultivation, he could completely use his bloodline to deduce which people in the myriad worlds were related to him. Of course, it was not so easy to perform such a great technique that traced back to the source. At this time, Li Changtian's samsara power awakened the deepest memories in Ji Fei's soul, or perhaps it was his deepest obsession. "You're still not dead this time?" Li Changtian couldn't help being overjoyed when he sensed the state of Ji Fei's soul. If Ji Fei's soul continued to sink into the samsara cycle, his soul would sooner or later be completely obliterated by the samsara power. However, Li Changtian was also shocked by the strength of Ji Fei's soul. If an ordinary supremacist's soul was trapped in his samsara power, it would have long been obliterated. However, Ji Fei's soul was still incomparably strong. Although it had been weakened, it was still far from being obliterated. It couldn't be obliterated in a short period of time. At this time, time seemed to have no meaning to Ji Fei. After an unknown amount of time, Ji Fei finally let out a long sigh and directly woke up from the samsara power. In the next moment, the scene formed by Li Changtian's samsara power collapsed. The entire world formed by the samsara power collapsed. How is this possible? The entire reincarnation heaven and earth collapsed, leaving only 2 figures sitting cross-legged in the void. These 2 people were Ji Fei and Li Changtian. More accurately speaking, it was Ji Fei and Li Changtian's divine souls facing off against each other. "You shouldn't have used samsara against me." Sitting cross-legged in the void, Ji Fei said indifferently. "Looks like I made a mistake." Li Changtian sighed. Ji Fei was a supremacy of the 9 paths. Among the 9 paths that he had cultivated, there was the samsara great path. The samsara power's influence on Ji Fei could be said to be very small. However, Ji Fei had to admit that Li Changtian's samsara great path was much stronger than his. Back when he was undergoing the samsara tribulation, the deepest memories and obsessions in his soul had yet to be triggered. Obsessions, to put it bluntly, were the so-called inner demons. The deeper the obsessions, the more powerful the inner demons. Some people cultivated their entire lives, but in the end, they were trapped by their own obsessions. In the next moment, Ji Fei and Li Changtian's souls directly disappeared in the void. Swoosh! Ji Fei's martial body suddenly opened its eyes. At the same time, the 5-element samsara wheel that was suppressing Ji Fei disappeared in the void. A figure shot into the sky and directly disappeared into the depths of the sky. The powerful divine might of a supremacy also retreated like the tide, quickly disappearing. Ji Fei stood up in the void, stretched his back, and loosened his muscles. It was as if he had really experienced a reincarnation cycle, as if he had lived through countless years. Only those who had experienced the samsara power's baptism would have such a feeling. Everyone was dumbfounded. The battle had ended just like that. The Li clan's 2nd and 3rd ancestors saw that the situation was not good and hurriedly retreated. Were they going to stay here and be killed by Ji Fei? Ji Fei had no intention of attacking the Li clan's 2nd and 3rd ancestors. "Who are my parents?" Ji Fei looked up at the sky and muttered to himself. Did he have to go to Ziwei Battle Palace? Ziwei Battle Palace was a sect in the ancestral realm that divined the secrets of heaven. In the entire ancestral realm, it was one of the best. The current palace lord was said to be able to know millions of years in the past and millions of years in the future. He could calculate all the secrets of heaven and divine anything. If he wanted to know who his parents were, it seemed like he could only go to Ziwei Battle Palace and ask the palace lord of Ziwei Battle Palace to help. The battle between Jiyu Fei and Li Changtian at the supremacy level had ended. This battle left behind a great mystery. No one knew who had won and who had lost. This Jiyu Fei. Chapter 3895. The battle between Jiyu Fei and Li Changtian was a little strange. No one could tell who had won. Only the people involved knew the outcome of the battle. Even if the Sky Patriarch used the Great Tao Sky Eye, it was useless. That was the mysterious power of reincarnation. Even the Great Tao Sky Eye couldn't see through it. Big Brother, you, the second and third progenitors rushed back to the Li clan's ancestral grounds. They rushed into the ancestral hall as if their butts were on fire and saw the first progenitor, Li Changtian, sitting on the throne. The second and third progenitors looked at Li Changtian, who was sitting on the throne, in shock and uncertainty. "I'm fine. You can all leave. I want to rest. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important." Li Changtian looked at his two brothers, then closed his eyes. This is, the second and third progenitors didn't dare say anything else and left. They were curious. Who won the battle between their big brother and Jiyu Fei? If Li Changtian defeated Jiyu Fei, then the Li clan, the Sky clan, and the Chu clan could rule the southern region. The power structure of the southern region wouldn't change much. But if Jiyu Fei defeated Li Changtian, then the Chu clan and the Li clan would have to step aside. In the end, only the Sky clan could be Jiyu Fei's opponent. If the Sky clan couldn't stop Jiyu Fei, then Jiyu Fei would become the ruler of the southern region. In the ancestral hall, on the throne, Li Changtian suddenly let out a long sigh. Then, with a wave of his hand, the door of the ancestral hall was closed. "Big Brother, this is..." The third progenitor looked at the second progenitor. "Did Big Brother lose?" The second progenitor muttered. "How is that possible?" The third progenitor shook his head. Li Changtian was the southern region supremacy. He had once forced the supremacy of the southern region to bow down. In the third progenitor's opinion, there was no way Jiyu Fei could defeat Li Changtian. At this time, outside the Li clan's ancestral land, the Tian clan's patriarch appeared with Tian Qian at the entrance. The old patriarch of the Tian clan directly came to find him. However, it was a pity that Li Changtian didn't come out to see the Sky clan patriarch, nor did he enter the Li clan's ancestral land. He only chatted with the second and third ancestors outside before leaving. At this moment, in the depths of Lightning Tao Sovereign's lightning lake, an ancient shrine with lightning coiling around it floated high up in the sky. Inside the ancient shrine, Jiyu Fei sat on a throne while Shooting Sun Sovereign, Black Wind Sovereign, Lightning Tao Sovereign, and other sovereigns stood before him. The most depressed person in the ancient shrine was definitely the Shooting Sun supremacy. However, the ancestral land of his Shooting Sun shrine had been completely destroyed in the battle between Jiyu Fei and Li Changtian. Even the dragon vein beneath the ancestral grounds was captured by Li Changtian and eaten in one bite. Of course, Jiyu Fei had subdued so many paragons, so he could easily find a place to stay. The lightning pool of the paragon of Lightning Tao was not bad, and the Southern Domain's Thunder Clan was a native of the Thunder Clan. The Southern Domain's lightning pool was a place where the power of lightning converged. Cultivating the Tao of lightning here would naturally yield twice the results with half the effort. As for the Thunder Clan, they were naturally born to cultivate the Tao of lightning. This clan would produce great figures in every generation. Their heritage might not be as old as the Sky Clan, but they were definitely comparable to the Li Clan, Chu Clan, and other great clans. The Lightning Tao Sovereign was actually not the strongest existence in the Lightning Lake. The strongest was the primal Chaos Lightning ancestor. Legend has it that he was born from the chaos. However, the primal Chaos Lightning ancestor had disappeared for countless years. Even during the ancestral realm's most chaotic period, when the Thunder Clan was almost wiped out, he did not appear. Many people believed that the primal Chaos Lightning ancestor had fallen, but the Lightning Tao Sovereign and the other higher-ups of the Thunder Clan believed that the primal Chaos Lightning ancestor was still alive. Due to the disappearance of the primal Chaos Lightning ancestor, the Southern Domain's Thunder Clan gradually declined, leaving only the Lightning Tao Sovereign to hold the fort. If it wasn't for the Lightning Tao Sovereign overseeing the Lightning Lake, the entire Thunder Lake would have been conquered by other cultivation forces. Now, the lightning lake had become Ji Yufei's territory. Li Changtian's reincarnation Dao is quite interesting, Ji Yufei said calmly. I didn't expect that Li Changtian to be a dual Dao's sovereign. He hid it well. The Shooting Sun Supreme said. If it wasn't for Ji Yufei forcing Li Changtian to use the reincarnation Dao's power, the world would have thought that Li Changtian was a five-element supreme. Master, who won the battle between you and Li Changtian? The Black Wind Supreme asked Ji Yufei carefully. The other people in the hall were also curious to death, and they all looked at Ji Yufei eagerly. Ji Yufei pondered for a moment and said, "What's the point of winning and losing? I didn't kill Li Changtian, nor did I subdue him. It's a draw." A draw. The Supremes in the hall couldn't help but look at each other. A draw. The Shooting Sun Supreme and the others were deep in thought. Their master's meaning of a draw was very deep. However, Ji Yufei didn't seem to be injured in the battle with Li Changtian. They didn't know how Li Changtian was injured. However, there was no news from the Li clan. No one knew about Li Changtian's condition. They only heard that the Heavenly Clan leader had gone to the Li clan's ancestral land. Master, if the Heavenly Clan and the Li clan join forces, won't all our efforts be in vain? The Shooting Sun Supreme frowned and said. If the Li clan and the Heavenly Clan joined forces, even Ji Yufei wouldn't be able to withstand them. At least, the Shooting Sun Supreme and the others didn't think that Ji Yufei could go against the Li clan and the Heavenly Clan alone. Moreover, Ji Yufei had beaten up the Chu clan's old monster Chu. In this case, Ji Yufei would have to face the three strongest clans in the southern region of the ancestral realm. If the three clans joined forces, their strength would be unprecedented. Do you think I'm afraid of the three clans? If that's the case, then all of you are looking down on me, your master, Ji Yufei said indifferently as he swept a glance at everyone. Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but be astonished. Could it be that master actually had the ability to contend against the three great races by himself? Just as Ji Yufei and the rest settled down in the Thunder Lock, a blood-colored stone coffin soared into the sky and entered the depths of the starry sky. A figure of death walked across the land of the southern region. Wherever it went, it would lose all signs of life. The outcome of the battle between the two death sovereigns was not determined. However, their cultivation and battle prowess were on par, so it was not an easy task to determine a victor. The appearance of these two fiends added many variables to the southern region of the ancestral realm. At this time, Ji Yufei sent the Shooting Sun Supreme to the Emperor Star Battle Palace to invite the current Palace Lord of the Emperor Star Battle Palace to help him divine the heavenly secrets. Chapter 3896. Boom. In the depths of the ancestral realm, a star suddenly exploded, and a blood-colored stone coffin rushed out, instantly disappearing into the starry sky. In the next moment, the blood-colored stone coffin appeared in another part of the starry sky, directly rushing into a huge divine sunday. In just an instant, the divine sun dimmed, and endless supreme yang essence chi was continuously devoured by the blood-colored stone coffin. In just an hour, the divine sun disappeared into the starry sky, and a small part of the starry sky immediately became pitch black. The blood-colored stone coffin was extremely strange, and it continuously devoured the power of various stars in the starry sky. After devouring the endless essence chi, the stone coffin began to change. Blood-colored Dao patterns continuously appeared on the stone coffin, and a bloody aura spread out in the starry sky, enveloping a small part of the starry sky. The essence chi of thousands of stars frantically gathered towards the blood-colored stone coffin, and was devoured by it. All the essence chi of the stars was directly devoured, and then they turned into dust, dissipating in the starry sky. A saint who was passing by in the nearby starry sky saw this scene, and his face turned pale with fright, and he immediately fled far away. Roar. At this moment, an earth-shattering roar came from the distant starry sky, and the entire starry sky shook along with this roar. Following this roar, the stars in that starry sky also dimmed, and endless star power was devoured. The figure of a giant beast appeared in the starry sky. That giant beast was many times larger than a star, and its two eyes were much larger than ordinary stars. A saint who was alarmed saw this giant beast, and he could not help but turn pale with fright. A star beast, And an adult star beast at that. A saint cried out in alarm. Although the ancestral realm was endless and vast, star beasts were still very rare. A descendant of the Wood clan, which was destroyed by Gu Fei, had once used a star beast to pull a chariot. However, those star beasts were only small beasts. Compared to adult star beasts, those small beasts were as weak as ants. The blood-colored stone coffin, that is, some saints discovered the blood-colored sarcophagus and were shocked. At that moment, the adult astral beast also discovered the blood-colored sarcophagus. The adult astral beast was surrounded by countless stars. Every speck of starlight was shining brightly, much more resplendent than a real star. Roar! The star beast roared angrily at the blood-colored sarcophagus, and the surrounding stars immediately exploded. A terrifying, monstrous, murderous aura emanated from the body of this giant beast, causing the entire star region to tremble. Even a saint-level expert couldn't take it and fled. The giant beast leaped and traversed the starry sky, pouncing on the blood-colored sarcophagus. Its giant claws slammed down on the blood-colored sarcophagus. The star beast's huge claws broke through the layers of blood-colored evil chi and slapped the blood-colored stone coffin. This star beast's attack could definitely shatter all the stars in a star domain. The blood-colored sarcophagus was sent flying by this attack. Boom! The blood-colored sarcophagus directly smashed a star. In the next moment, it directly soared into the sky and collided with the star beast. Swoosh! The star beast opened its mouth and spat out a dazzling starlight. This starlight directly blasted on the blood-colored sarcophagus that was colliding with it. Boom! With a loud bang, the blood-colored sarcophagus was blasted away again. Interesting. At that moment, a figure appeared in the starry sky. This person stood in the void with his hands behind his back. There was no powerful aura emanating from his body. It was a young man in black. "Master, that sarcophagus," standing next to the young man in black, a young man in white said. This young man in white had sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes. He was slender and carried a large bow on his back. "An adult astral beast does have some ability," the young man in black said. "An adult astral beast is comparable to a supremacy." The eyes of the young man in white lit up. Who are those two? At that moment, a saint-level expert noticed these two young men. They are worried about the disciples of those big clans and sects who came out to gain experience, someone said with some disdain. The so-called disciples of big clans and sects only succeeded in their cultivation with the help of their clans. These two young fellows are actually commenting on the astral beast. What a joke! Someone said with disdain. In their opinion, the young man in black and the young man in white were just young fellows who were still wet behind the ears. The young man in black did not care about the mockery of the people around him. These fellows were just ants in front of him. Why would a giant dragon in the sky care about the mockery of ants on the ground? "Master, these fellows," the young man in white did not have a good temper. These fellows actually dared to mock his master. They simply did not know what was good for them. The young man in black did not say anything. They were Gu Fei and the Shooting Sun Supreme. Gu Fei and the Shooting Sun Supreme happened to pass by nearby and encountered this adult astral beast. Seeing that Gu Fei did not say anything, the Shooting Sun Supreme did not attack the fellows around him. At that moment, an extremely gorgeous chariot rushed over from the starry sky in the distance. The chariot was pulled by two snow-white unicorn celestial horses. The chariot charged straight at Gu Fei and the Shooting Sun Supreme. "Get out of the way!" The person driving the chariot was a young man in purple with a haughty demeanor. He shouted at Gu Fei and the Shooting Sun Supreme. "You must have a death wish." The Shooting Sun Supreme waved his right hand and the chariot was immediately sent flying. The two unicorn celestial horses that were pulling the chariot were immediately shattered in the void. Even the young man driving the chariot was sent flying thousands of miles away and spat out a mouthful of blood. The surrounding saints were stunned when they saw this. These two fellows were actually hidden experts. However, they had beaten up the young master of the Imperial Beast Mountain Villa. The Imperial Beast Mountain Villa was a cultivation force in the southern region of the ancestral realm that was only inferior to the Sky tribe, the Li tribe, and the Chu tribe. The strength of the Imperial Beast Mountain Villa was no weaker than the Shooting Sun Sacred Hall. Furthermore, the Imperial Beast Mountain Villa had obtained the inheritance of an ancient beast venerate, and the current master of the Imperial Beast Mountain Villa possessed the mystic ability to control thousands of beasts. It was rumored that the Imperial Beast Mountain Villa was protected by the 4 great mythological beasts. The 4 great mythological beasts all had the bloodline of the 4 great ancient mythological beasts. Although they could not be compared to the ancient mythological beasts, their cultivation and combat strength were extremely close to the ancient mythological beasts. Are these 2 fellows courting death? How dare they attack the young master of the Imperial Beast Mountain Villa? They are in trouble. Not only will they die, but the sect behind them will also suffer, someone exclaimed. Imperial Beast Mountain Villa? Chapter 3897. The young master of the Imperial Beast Villa, Yu Feng, was in deep sorrow today. He had just obtained a divine medicine from a star domain and was about to rush back to the Imperial Beast Villa. However, on his way back, he encountered an adult star beast. This was an extremely powerful adult star beast, and he wanted to use his beast taming technique to subdue this star beast. With Yu Feng's cultivation, he would definitely not dare to provoke an adult star beast. However, he brought along a supreme Dao weapon that his father had given him to protect himself. It was a beast-taming collar. Even a supreme divine beast would have to obediently submit to the beast-taming collar and allow itself to be controlled by the beast-taming collar. However, just as Yu Feng was about to subdue the star beast, a blood-colored stone coffin suddenly appeared in the star domain. The blood-colored stone coffin barged into the territory of the star beast and angered it immediately. The star beast immediately started fighting with the blood-colored stone coffin. This was Yu Feng's chance. While the star beast was fighting with the blood-colored stone coffin, he could sneak an attack on the star beast. He would definitely have a 60% to 70% chance of success. If he could subdue this adult star beast and return to the Imperial Beast Villa, his father would definitely be very happy. However, just as he was about to drive the chariot and approach the star beast, a young man in white who was blocking the way in front waved his hand and sent him flying with the chariot. The unicorn horse that was pulling the chariot was turned into 2 clouds of blood mist. The chariot was destroyed, and the young master of the Imperial Beast Villa was also seriously injured. If it was not for the beast-taming collar on him, his body and soul would have been destroyed long ago. Yu Feng was shocked and furious. Who are you? Why did you attack me? Yu Feng stood up. As soon as he finished speaking, he spat out a mouthful of blood and looked exhausted. The Shooting Sun Supremacy did not even look at Yu Feng. He only stared at the star beast and the blood-colored stone coffin in front of him. Only a battle of such techniques could arouse his interest. Seeing that the Shooting Sun Supremacy and Ji Yufei were ignoring him, Yu Feng was so agitated that he almost spat out another mouthful of blood. Who are these 2 fellows? How dare they ignore the young master of the Imperial Beast Villa? Someone asked in a low voice in shock. Don't tell me they have a powerful background. Someone guessed. These cultivators who could appear in the star domain had at least a saint-level cultivation. Some of them had even cultivated to the quasi-supreme realm. He was just a step away from becoming a supremacy. However, since ancient times, countless cultivators have been stuck at the quasi-supreme realm. It was extremely difficult for them to take that final step. Good, very good. Just you wait. Yu Feng directly crushed a jade talisman in his hand. A mass of divine light rushed out from the shattered jade talisman and instantly enveloped him. In the next moment, Yu Feng's figure disappeared into thin air. He had made use of the power of the jade talisman to escape. As for the Shooting Sun Supreme and Ji Yufei, they did not even bother to look at him and allowed him to leave. These 2 little fellows are going to be out of luck. Someone whispered. How could the young master of the Imperial Beast Villa be provoked? Moreover, the young master of the Imperial Beast Villa was deeply favored by the Villa Master. Now that the Shooting Sun Supreme had almost crippled Yu Feng, the Imperial Beast Villa would definitely not let the matter rest. The current Villa Master of the Imperial Beast Villa had the cultivation of an intermediate supremacy. Although he was not invincible in the southern region, he was not an ordinary supremacy. The villa master of the Imperial Beast Villa would definitely be furious when his precious son was beaten up. The anger of the villa master of the Imperial Beast Villa was not something that anyone could withstand. These two little fellows are still not taking this opportunity to escape. Someone said doubtfully. Could it be that these two really have something to rely on? Someone whispered. At this moment, the adult star beast and the blood-colored stone coffin kept colliding and fighting. Everywhere they passed, the stars were directly turned into dust. The star beast could actually block Gu Fei. This surprised Gu Fei. The crimson stone coffin was extremely ferocious and could fight endlessly with the middle-aged man in hemp garments. Could it be that the living creature in the crimson stone coffin was already severely injured when it fought with the middle-aged man in hemp garments? The shooting sun supreme said doubtfully. Gu Fei did not say anything. Half an hour had passed, and the star beast and the crimson stone coffin were still in a stalemate. At this moment, the void near Gu Fei's group suddenly shattered, and a few figures walked out from the shattered void. The few figures that came out from the shattered void were two middle-aged men and two young men. The one in the lead was tall, had a head full of golden hair, and looked mighty. "Uncle Wolf King, they are the ones who injured me." Yu Feng pointed at the shooting sun supreme and Gu Fei as he spoke to the golden-haired middle-aged man. "You guys injured him?" The golden-haired Wolf King said coldly. He stared at Gu Fei and his group, and there seemed to be two balls of golden divine fire dancing in his eyes. "Scram!" The shooting sun supreme said indifferently. You, the middle-aged man in the lead, who was addressed as Wolf King, was so angry that his body was trembling. This guy actually dared to ask him to scram? Me. Die, you two little brats. The other middle-aged man extended his hand and grabbed at the shooting sun supreme. "Very well. Since you guys want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." The shooting sun supreme suddenly turned around and swept a cold glance at these people. "Ha ha. You want to fulfill our wish? That's hilarious." Yu Feng laughed in disdain. The young man who came with Yu Feng looked at the shooting sun supreme thoughtfully. At this moment, the shooting sun supreme waved his hand again, and then the middle-aged man who had attacked him was directly sent flying. Bang! His entire body exploded in midair, and he was instantly obliterated in both body and soul. What? Seeing this, Yu Feng and the others turned into stone statues. They were dumbfounded and in disbelief. You, the young man from before was so scared that he wet his pants. At this moment, the golden-haired Wolf King's body suddenly trembled, and he almost collapsed. He stared at the shooting sun supreme in disbelief. Uncle Wolf King, seeing the golden-haired Wolf King so scared, Yu Feng was shocked. Slap. The golden-haired Wolf King sent Yu Feng flying with a backhand slap. "Wolf King, are you crazy?" When the other young man saw this, he was both shocked and angry. However, the golden-haired Wolf King blasted the young cultivator into pieces with a punch. Yu Feng had just come back to his senses and was about to curse when he saw his good friend being killed by the golden-haired Wolf King with a punch. He was extremely shocked. "Please forgive us, sir. We didn't know." Chapter 3898. The Imperial Beast Mountain Villa was a powerful cultivation force in the southern region of the ancestral realm that wasn't inferior to the Shooting Sun Temple. Moreover, the Imperial Beast Manor's Manor Lord was a mid-level venerable realm expert, comparable to the Shooting Sun Supreme Being. Most importantly, the Manor Lord of the Imperial Beast Manor could control tens of thousands of beasts, and he had an army of beasts under his command. The Imperial Beast Mountain Villa was also protected by 4 divine beasts. Although such a force couldn't compare to the Li clan, the Chu clan, or the Sky clan, it was still comparable to the first-rate forces in the southern region. Yu Feng, the young master of the Imperial Beast Mountain Villa, couldn't believe that his father's subordinate, the Golden Wolf King, had actually killed his good friend with a single punch. The Song family of the Heavenly South wasn't a force to be trifled with. The fellow that was killed by the Golden Wolf King was a disciple of the Song family. Although he wasn't a direct descendant, his status in the Song family wasn't low. How could the Song family let the Golden Wolf King off the hook after killing that fellow? "Golden Wolf King, you're crazy." Yu Feng's voice trembled at the thought of the Song family's rage. The Song family might not be as powerful as the Imperial Beast Mountain Villa, but they still shouldn't be underestimated. Most importantly, the Song family and the Li family were related by marriage. The youngest daughter of the Song family was married to a disciple of the Li family. It was precisely because of this relationship between the Song clan and the Li clan that the various powers were extremely fearful of the Song clan and did not dare to rashly provoke them. Now, the Golden Wolf King had killed Song Ming with a single punch. He had caused a huge disaster and provoked an unimaginable enemy for the Imperial Beast Mountain Villa. "Young master, please shut up," the Golden Wolf King said coldly without even looking at Yu Feng. However, the Golden Wolf King was trembling in fear in front of the Shooting Sun Supremacy and Ji Fei. Golden Wolf King, Yu Feng was shocked and furious. The Golden Wolf King was only a wolf demon under his father. How dare he speak to him like that? He deserved to die. "You know me?" The Shooting Sun Supreme glanced at the Golden Wolf King and said indifferently. He didn't care about these little fellows at all. If it was in the past, he might have been wary of the Imperial Beast Manor. But now, he had the backing of Ji Fei. Not to mention the Imperial Beast Villa, even if it was the Li clan, the Tian clan, or the Chu clan, he wouldn't be afraid. This little beast was fortunate enough to meet Lord Shiyang at the 10,000 Sage Convention 300 years ago. The Golden Wolf King became even more respectful. "What? He's the Shooting Sun Supreme?" When Yu Feng heard this, his eyeballs almost fell to the ground. He was quite frightened. However, his father was on par with the Shooting Sun Supreme. Even though he was frightened, he was not worried that the Shooting Sun Supreme would attack him. "Sir Shiyang, I hope you won't stoop to my young master's level." The Golden Wolf King was terrified. The Shooting Sun Supreme was the temple lord of the Shooting Sun Temple, and it was said that he had joined the Extreme Path legend, Ji Fei. Could this person be the Extreme Path legend? The black-robed young man that even the Shooting Sun Supreme had to be careful of must have an even greater background. It seemed like the only person who could make the Shooting Sun Supreme lower his head was the Extreme Path legend, Ji Fei. The Golden Wolf King lowered his head even more at the thought of this. "Little brat, go play somewhere else." The Shooting Sun Supreme waved his hand and said. Yu Feng was only a Saint Emperor and was still a distance away from becoming a quasi-supreme. His cultivation was also not as good as the Golden Wolf King's. The Golden Wolf King was a quasi-supreme great demon and was known as the Golden Wolf Demon King. Even in the Imperial Beast Manor, he was ranked highly. When Yu Feng heard the Shooting Sun Supreme's words, he was infuriated. So what if this guy was the Shooting Sun Supreme? Even his father had never called him a little brat before. "Young master, just apologize to Sir Shiyang and come back with me," the Golden Wolf King said to Yu Feng hurriedly. "You want me to apologize to this guy?" "No way." Yu Feng's temper flared up at this moment, and he actually said such words. When he heard Yu Feng's words, the Golden Wolf King staggered in fear and almost fell from the starry sky. "Ayo, my little ancestor, do you think this is the Imperial Beast Manor?" The Manor Lord of the Imperial Beast Manor only had Yu Feng as his only son. Naturally, he doted on him. Over time, Yu Feng had developed a condescending personality. He's courting death, so he can't blame anyone else. The Shooting Sun Supreme said indifferently. "Sir Shiyang, please show mercy." The Golden Wolf King was on the verge of tears. Yu Feng, this B****, was courting death himself and even wanted to drag him down with him. "TSK, you dare to kill me? Don't joke around. My father is the Manor Lord of the Imperial Beast Manor," Yu Feng said proudly. At this moment, in the distant starry sky, the battle between the Crimson Sarcophagus and the Star Beast had reached a critical juncture. The Crimson Sarcophagus began to counterattack. Streaks of crimson Dao patterns rushed out of the sarcophagus and turned into crimson figures. They constantly clashed with the Star Beast and forced it to retreat. The Star Beast roared continuously. Under the roar of this beast, stars exploded one after another, causing the entire star region to tremble. Even Ji Fei was surprised by the power of the adult Star Beast. The Star Beast could swallow and spit out stars. An adult star beast was an existence comparable to a supreme. If anyone could subdue a star beast, it would be a great help to anyone. Ji Yufei didn't look at Yufeng at all. He really didn't care about the small imperial beast manner. The shooting sun supreme snorted coldly. In the next moment, Yufeng, the young master of the imperial beast manner, exploded and turned into a bloody mist. His spiritual soul was completely obliterated. Even the Golden Wolf King didn't see how the shooting sun supreme attacked. The young master of the imperial beast mountain villa didn't even have the chance to scream before he died. When the Golden Wolf King saw this, he was almost paralyzed with fear. The shooting sun supreme had actually killed the young master of the imperial beast manor without any hesitation. Lord Shooting Sun, please calm down. The Golden Wolf King hurriedly lay down in the void and trembled. The shooting sun supreme didn't say anything. He just watched the battle in front of him. Seeing that the shooting sun supreme didn't say anything, the Golden Wolf King lay there motionlessly and didn't dare to move at all. The moment the shooting sun supreme killed Yufeng, a sorrowful and angry roar was suddenly heard from a large hall in the imperial beast manor. Who was it? Who dared to kill my son? A powerful extreme Dao power surged out of the hall, causing the entire hall to shake. Countless Dao patterns emerged on the hall. They intertwined. When the surrounding disciples of the imperial beast manor heard this, they couldn't help but turn pale with fright. The young master was dead. Furthermore, he had been beaten to death. How was that possible? The imperial beast manor was shaken. When the news spread, the entire southern region of the ancestral realm was in an uproar. Who had the guts to actually kill Yufeng? Someone muttered. Yufeng's cultivation level wasn't great, but he had an extremely powerful father. Soon, the imperial beast manor turned out in full strength and entered the depths of the starry sky. When they saw Ji Yufei and the shooting sun supreme, they were all dumbfounded. It's him. The group of experts from the imperial beast manor stopped in the void. At that moment, no one dared to go forward. The hatred of my son's death is absolutely irreconcilable. The manor lord of the imperial beast manor roared furiously and threw a punch at Ji Yufei. The shooting sun supreme, who was standing beside Ji Yufei, was stunned when he saw this. This fella was impressive. He actually threw a punch at Ji Yufei right away. Ji Yufei waved his sleeves impatiently. In the next moment, the manor lord of the imperial beast manor was sent flying. Then, with a bang, he exploded into a bloody mist in the void. The upper echelons of the imperial beast manor were extremely shocked when they saw this. We're willing to surrender. The upper echelons of the imperial beast manor hurriedly knelt in front of Ji Yufei and the shooting sun supreme. Very well. Ji Yufei nodded and waved his right hand. Dozens of divine lights directly rushed out and entered the bodies of the upper echelons of the imperial beast manor. This is a forbidden technique. If you dare to betray me, I can destroy your body and soul with a single thought, said Ji Yufei faintly. The people of the imperial beast manor were all astonished when they heard this. Ji Yufei had subdued the imperial beast manor just like that. This was something that no one had expected. At that moment, a ring was floating in the void, faintly emitting a trace of aura of the extreme path. This was the imperial beast collar on Yufeng's body. It was an extreme path level imperial beast collar that was said to be able to subdue supreme beasts. Ji Yufei extended his right hand, and the imperial beast collar immediately flew into his hand. The manor lord of the imperial beast manor was dead. The entire imperial beast manor had lowered its head to Ji Yufei and was willing to become Ji Yufei's servant. The news spread quickly and shook the entire southern region. How is this possible? The Li clan is behind the imperial beast manor. Someone was constantly discussing. At that moment, Ji Yufei and the shooting sun supreme were still watching the battle. They saw a bloody light shooting into the sky in front of them, and the entire sky was illuminated in the color of blood. The source of all the bloody light was a blood-colored stone coffin. The energy wave that erupted from the mysterious stone coffin was definitely not weaker than that of a peak supreme. It seemed that the blood-colored stone coffin had suffered serious damage from the battle with the middle-aged man in linen. What's going on? Ji Yufei was a little surprised. The combat power displayed by the blood-colored stone coffin was a little low. It should be known that when this stone coffin was first born, it could compete with a supreme. It seems like it's not bad to subdue an adult star beast as a mount. Ji Yufei muttered to himself. Master, you, the shooting sun supreme couldn't help but be startled. Master was going to make a move. The surrounding people of the Imperial Beast Manor were all inexplicably shocked. An extreme path legend is going to make a move. The higher-ups of the Imperial Beast Manor couldn't help but be surprised and delighted when they thought of this. It was Ji Yufei. Those who could see him make a move were at least supreme beings. They were actually fortunate enough to see an extreme path legend make a move. Everyone was extremely excited when they thought of this. Chapter 3899. Ji Yufei made his move. He took a step forward and instantly appeared in front of the blood-colored sarcophagus. Then, he punched the sarcophagus. Boom! With a loud bang, the entire blood-colored sarcophagus was sent flying thousands of miles away by Ji Yufei's punch. It crashed into another star region and only stopped after smashing through more than 10 stars. At the same time, Ji Yufei had already appeared above the star beast's head. With a stomp, the star beast, which was much larger than a star, was sent flying hundreds of thousands of miles away. Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Ji Yufei's body didn't emit any shocking divine might or energy waves. However, this punch and kick had sent 2 terrifying existences flying. Is this the power of an extreme mythical creature? The upper echelons of the Imperial Beast Villa were astonished. In particular, the Golden Wolf King was terrified to the extreme. With his cultivation and combat power, he wasn't even fit to carry his master's shoes. How can you guys imagine how powerful my master is? The shooting sun supremacy said calmly. At this moment, the blood-colored sarcophagus that was sent flying by Ji Yufei's punch turned into a blood-colored light. It instantly traversed the starry sky and shot towards Ji Yufei like a blood-colored demonic arrow. Hiding in the coffin and pretending to be mysterious, Ji Yufei pressed forward with his right hand and immediately blocked the blood-colored demonic light. Then, he exerted force with his right hand and the blood-colored light collapsed. The blood-colored sarcophagus was sent flying once again. At this moment, the adult star beast roared angrily and opened its mouth to suck in Ji Yufei. Rumble! The entire starry sky where Ji Yufei was trembling. Many stars flew towards the star beast's mouth and were swallowed. The star beast opened its mouth to swallow the stars. Its ferocious might was unparalleled. Even Ji Yufei flew forward involuntarily and was swallowed by the star beast in one gulp. How is this possible? Everyone was stunned as though they had turned into stone statues. Their master was swallowed by the star beast. Even the shooting sun supreme was taken aback. A legend was eaten by a star beast just like that. There were also other supremes in the starfield watching the battle. These supremes were indescribably shocked. Ji Yufei had even defeated Li Changtian. How could he be eaten by a mere adult star beast? Boom! At that moment, the star beast exploded and turned into a huge bloody mist. The bloody mist spread out and almost enveloped half of the star region. In the next moment, a figure directly rushed out of the blood mist and then smashed the blood-colored stone coffin away with a punch. After being repeatedly smashed away by Ji Yufei, the mysterious blood-colored sarcophagus seemed to be enraged. Endless bloody light erupted from the sarcophagus, and everything that was enveloped by the bloody light was corroded. Under the shroud of the blood-fiend light, the stars directly disappeared in the bloodlight. I was wondering why Master would be eaten by a star beast. When the higher-ups of the Imperial Beast Villa saw this scene, they all heaved a sigh of relief. At that moment, Ji Yufei completely ignored the extremely terrifying bloody light. He directly appeared in the sky above the blood-colored sarcophagus and directly landed on it. Clang! The sound of iron chains colliding suddenly came from the blood-colored sarcophagus. Then, blood-colored iron chains rushed out from the sarcophagus and instantly wrapped around Ji Yufei's legs. What? When everyone saw this, they couldn't help but feel nervous. However, no one thought that Ji Yufei would lose. After all, he was a legend. Even old Monster Chu and Li Changtian weren't a match for him. In the entire southern region of the ancestral realm, perhaps only the Sky Clan leader could be a match for Ji Yufei. However, the Sky Clan leader was mysterious and unfathomable. No one had ever seen him make a move. The strength of the Sky Clan leader was a mystery. Bam! Ji Yufei stomped his feet and the blood-colored iron chains wrapped around his legs immediately shattered. The entire blood-colored sarcophagus directly fell from the sky. Boom! Ji Yufei stepped on the blood-colored sarcophagus and fell from the sky. He directly smashed an incomparably huge star. Violent power erupted, and cracks actually appeared on the blood-colored sarcophagus. An even more terrifying bloody aura seeped out from the cracks. The void was corroded, and pitch-black spatial cracks appeared. However, Ji Yufei still ignored this kind of bloody aura. Ji Yufei's primordial chaos daoist body was unimaginably powerful. Even if he was enveloped by the bloody aura, he was completely fearless. The extremely terrifying bloody aura couldn't even corrode Ji Yufei's clothes. At that moment, a deep roar came from the blood-colored sarcophagus. The cracks on the sarcophagus gradually disappeared, and the death power of a supremacy erupted from the sarcophagus. In the next moment, countless blood-colored iron chains directly condensed from the blood-colored sarcophagus and wrapped around Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei's figure was instantly engulfed by the blood-colored iron chains. At that moment, Ji Yufei's body was completely wrapped by the blood-colored iron chains. Every iron chain was desperately shrinking, and the blood-colored iron chains were actually devouring the essence in Ji Yufei's body. At that moment, the astral beast that Ji Yufei had smashed into a bloody mist did not die. The bloody mist that enveloped half of the star sector was constantly retreating. Soon, a huge blurry figure appeared in the starry sky. An extremely violent and ferocious aura erupted from that figure. Everyone's hearts were palpitating. If it weren't for the sun-shooting supremacy protecting these guys from the Imperial Beast Villa, they would have long died under the extreme power. Roar! The astral beast roared and crossed the starry sky, slapping its palm at the blood-colored sarcophagus. Boom! The astral beast's huge claws slapped the blood-colored sarcophagus fiercely. The violent power of the stars directly slapped the blood-colored sarcophagus away. This giant beast was enraged by Ji Yufei, and it became extremely ferocious. At that moment, Ji Yufei, who was standing on the sarcophagus, shook violently, and the countless blood-colored iron chains that were wrapped around his body shattered. He soared into the sky and rushed towards the astral beast. Ji Yufei's target was the astral beast, and the blood-colored sarcophagus was extremely strange. For a moment, even he could not break the sarcophagus and pull out the guy in it. Roar! The astral beast slapped at Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei took out the beast-taming collar, and a divine light rushed out of his hand. It turned into a huge halo and wrapped around the astral beast's neck. An extreme-level beast-taming collar could not be found in the entire southern region of the ancestral realm. The moment the beast-taming collar was wrapped around the astral beast's neck, the astral beast immediately became obedient, and its huge body rapidly shrunk. At that moment, the blood-colored sarcophagus actually turned into a bloody light and rushed into the depths of the starry sky, disappearing without a trace. No one expected the blood-colored sarcophagus to retreat. It worked. Chapter 3900. The Imperial Beast Collar was a treasure that was specially refined for all kinds of birds and beasts. It could control them completely. The Imperial Beast Villa in the southern region of the ancestral realm had obtained the ancient Imperial Beast technique, which was why they could control the beasts. The Imperial Beast Villa was a method to control the birds and beasts. In the entire ancestral realm, only the Imperial Beast Villa could refine the Imperial Beast Collar. The Imperial Beast Villa once had a supreme existence. All the beasts in the southern region of the ancestral realm had to bow their heads in front of this existence and were willing to be ordered around. The 4 divine beasts of the Imperial Beast Villa were subdued by this existence during that period. However, that existence in the Imperial Beast Villa also disappeared in the end, just like those supreme experts from ancient times until now, never to appear again. After that existence disappeared, the Imperial Beast Villa started to decline. However, with the 4 divine beasts protecting the villa, other forces couldn't shake its foundation. In the current era, the cultivation of the villa's master broke through to the mid-level of the supreme realm. The villa originally had a chance to rise again. However, because the imperial beast villa had a deceptive young master, the master of the villa met with tragedy. He didn't even have the chance to display his lofty ambitions before he died. Gu Fei clearly distinguished between kindness and hatred. Since the master of the imperial beast villa came to die, he couldn't just let him go and subdue the entire imperial beast villa. This way, he would have more capital and wouldn't look too bad when facing the Li clan, the Tian clan, and the Chu clan. Rumble, at this moment, Gu Fei stood on the head of the astral beast. The huge astral beast moved quickly in the starfield, leaving stars behind it. The speed of an adult astral beast was extremely fast. Of course, it was still a far cry from Gu Fei's heaven-treading steps. At this moment, the people of the Imperial Beast Villa had already returned. Gu Fei had placed a restriction on them, so they didn't have any thoughts of betraying Gu Fei. Gu Fei wasn't worried at all that the people of the Imperial Beast Villa would betray him. Only the Shooting Sun Supreme remained by Gu Fei's side. He stood behind Gu Fei and expressionlessly looked at the stars flying past them. They were heading to the Star Battle Palace to meet the legendary and mysterious Star Battle Palace Master. The Palace Master of the Ziwei Battle Palace was said to be able to calculate all the mysteries of heaven. Furthermore, no one had ever seen the Palace Master's true appearance. It was hard to say if such an existence existed in the Ziwei Battle Palace. This was because the people of the Emperor Star Battle Palace were simply too mysterious. The Amethyst Star Battle Palace was located in an extremely strange place. Even a saint would be in danger of getting lost in there and not being able to come out. Even an extreme Dao supremacy wouldn't be willing to set foot in the Lost Land. There was once an extreme Dao sovereign who got lost in there and mysteriously went to another great world. In the end, he spent a lot of effort to return to the ancestral world. The Amethyst Star Battle Palace was located in the center of the Lost Land. Since ancient times, no one had been able to enter the Amethyst Star Battle Palace unless they were invited by someone from the Amethyst Star Battle Palace. After 12 to 14 hours, the Star Beast continuously traversed the star domain and entered the depths of the ancestral world, the most primitive star domain. Given the Star Beast's cultivation base, 12 to 14 hours was enough to traverse the endless star domains. Soon, a pitch-black void appeared in front of them. That is, Gu Fei looked at the dark void in front of him in shock. There was no starlight in the dark void, so no one knew what was inside. Gu Fei released his spiritual force. A moment later, he sensed that the dark void in front of him was actually devouring his spiritual force. His spiritual force couldn't enter the dark void at all. "Master, the Lost Land is in front of us." The Star Beast's voice suddenly rang out in Gu Fei's mind. The Star Beast roamed the endless star domains and lived by devouring the power of the stars. The Star Beast beneath Gu Fei's feet wasn't like the small beast that the wood race had captured to pull the carriage. An adult Star Beast was extremely powerful and its combat strength was comparable to a supremacy's. Although it didn't have the cultivation base of a supremacy, its power could contend with a supremacy's on a certain level. Furthermore, the physical body of a Star Beast was extremely tough. Only a freak like Gu Fei could shatter the physical body of a Star Beast. Is that so? Gu Fei didn't show any expression on his face. The Lost Land might be a dangerous place for others, but it posed no threat to him. It should be known that he had the All-Sky Realm Wheel, which was the #1 Dao weapon in the ancestral world. With the All-Sky Realm Wheel, Gu Fei could go anywhere in the ancestral world. The Shooting Sun Supremacy and the other supremacies were also very clear about this. Gu Fei, who had the All-Sky Realm Wheel, had a better future than the supremacies of the Chu clan, the Li clan, and the Sky clan. There was an incomparably ancient legend in the ancestral world. Whoever could control the All-Sky Realm Wheel would become the Realm Lord of the ancestral world. A supremacy could only dominate a region, but a Realm Lord was different. He was an invincible existence in a realm. Unlike other great realms, the ancestral world was the source of all realms. There were many powerful clans, but no one had ever become the realm lord of the ancestral world. Since Ji Fei could obtain the All-Sky Realm Wheel, it proved that he had the potential to become a realm lord. Of course, if Ji Fei were to face the Li clan, the Chu clan, and the Sky clan at the same time, he might not be able to do so. He lacked supremacies. As for the Chu clan, the Li clan, and the Sky clan, these three clans definitely had many supremacies. Even now, the territories controlled by the three clans were much larger than the territories controlled by Ji Fei. Countless factions depended on the three clans. If the three clans joined forces, they would definitely be a powerful force that could contend for hegemony in the entire ancestral world. At this moment, although Ji Fei could already see the dark void in front of him, he was still very far away from it. The astral beast flew for a full 2 hours before they got close to the dark void. The huge dark void was in front of them. It was like an incomparably huge beast opening its mouth to devour everything in its surroundings. This is the Lost Lands. Ji Fei was a little surprised. He couldn't see anything in the dark void. This seemed a little strange. Master, this is just the surface. The Lost Lands are in the dark void, the Shooting Sun Supremacy suddenly said. Oh. So there's something else inside. Ji Fei immediately came to a realization. When his divine will came into contact with the dark void, he actually felt like he was being devoured. The star beast seemed to know the truth of this place. It actually brought Ji Fei and charged into the dark void. Chapter 3901. The Lost Land was a place that even Supreme Venerables couldn't afford to enter. At this moment, Ji Fei appeared in a place that even Supreme Venerables wouldn't easily set foot in. He scanned his surroundings and saw that the surrounding mountains were undulating. The sky was filled with colorful clouds, and a divine sun was hanging high in the sky. It was noon. This is the Lost Land. Ji Fei had originally thought that the Lost Land would definitely be a gloomy place that lacked vitality. However, what he saw surprised him. Master, be careful. This is just the surface. The Star Beast's voice rang out in Ji Fei's mind again. The Star Beast seemed a little nervous this time. After all, this was the Lost Land. Swoosh. At this moment, a black spatial crack appeared in the void not far from Ji Fei without any warning. It disappeared in an instant like a flash of black lightning. This is, Ji Fei's eyes lit up when he saw this. This spatial crack had appeared without any warning. Even he hadn't sensed it in advance. This meant that there was a problem. Although spatial cracks were terrifying, they were nothing to Supreme Venerables. If a living being below the sage level was swept by a spatial crack, there would only be one outcome. Their body and soul would be destroyed. They would be as dead as they could be. As for sage-level creatures, they could completely ignore the spatial cracks. However, encountering a spatial crack was still a troublesome matter. Once a living being was swept by a spatial crack, there was the danger of being swallowed by it. The seemingly stable space is actually unstable. Ji Fei said calmly. He had only just entered the Lost Land. The Lost Land was a world that was independent of all the heavens. The Shooting Sun Supremacy, who was standing behind Ji Fei, looked at the world in front of him with a tinge of fear in his eyes. The Shooting Sun Supremacy was an intermediate-level Supreme Venerate. However, even so, he wasn't willing to set foot in this place easily. Over the years, he had only been here once and didn't dare to venture too deep. He was also very curious about the Ziwei Battle Palace and wanted to pay a visit. However, in the end, he couldn't even find the shadow of the Ziwei Battle Palace. To the Shooting Sun Supreme, this was a huge regret. But now that Ji Fei was here, could he find the Emperor Star Battle Palace? Ji Fei was an extreme Dao legend. He had suppressed Li Changtian, defeated old eccentric Chu, and fought against the celestial race's old patriarch. He had even mastered the Wheel of Heaven's myriad worlds. If even such an amazing person couldn't find the Ziwei Battle Palace, then who else in this world could? Go. Ji Fei waved his hand, and the Star Beast immediately rushed forward. The Star Beast's huge body moved, and the entire void shook. The heaven-earth void here was not as stable as the primogenitor realm. A savage beast at the level of the Star Beast could break open the void here with a casual strike. Swoosh. As the star beast moved, pitch-black spatial cracks immediately appeared in the space around it, and a terrifying aura of destruction spread out from the spatial cracks. It was as if a universe had appeared around the star beast. The sun, the moon, and the stars floated around it, blocking all the spatial cracks. The savage beast carried Jiu Fei and rushed forward without any hesitation. This was only the periphery of the Lost Lands. The real danger had yet to appear. The spatial cracks couldn't do anything to the star beast. Soon, the star beast brought Jiu Fei and the shooting sun supreme into the central region of the Lost Lands. At this moment, an endless amount of yellow sand suddenly appeared in front of them. The earth-shattering yellow sand swept towards Jiu Fei and the others. Before the monstrous yellow sand, Jiu Fei and the others were as insignificant as ants. What's going on? Jiu Fei turned around and looked at the shooting sun supreme. The shooting sun supreme had entered the Lost Lands before, so he naturally knew a lot about the situation here. Master, this is called the Five Elements Calamity Land. This yellow sand is the Earth Calamity. The shooting sun supreme said with a solemn expression. Five Elements Calamity Land? Interesting. Jiu Fei couldn't help but smile and didn't say anything else. Roar. At that moment, the star beast let out a furious roar, and the whole world shook. Countless black spatial cracks couldn't get close to this huge beast at all. The star beast was like a huge mountain as it rushed into the yellow sand storm. The extremely chaotic earth elemental power was wreaking havoc, and the yellow sand storm covered a huge area. After an hour, the star beast finally rushed out of the yellow sand storm. The moment it rushed out of the yellow sand storm, Jiu Fei only felt a refreshing aura rushing towards him. He saw that the surroundings were lush and full of vitality. Towering trees that were hundreds of feet tall could be seen in the mountain ridges from time to time. The huge tree crowns covered a few miles. The vitality here was much more vigorous than the outside world. However, Jiu Fei and the others soon realized that something was wrong. There seemed to be only wood elemental living beings here. Apart from wood elemental living beings, they didn't see any other living beings. Not even a small bird could be seen. The surroundings were very quiet. Only the rustling of leaves could be heard when the wind blew past. What is this place? Jiu Fei glanced at the shooting sun supreme and asked. This should be the wood tribulation land of the Five Elements Tribulation Land. The shooting sun supreme said with a serious expression. The yellow sand storm earlier was enough to destroy a sage. Even the star beast needed an hour to get out of the yellow sandstorm. It was enough to show how powerful the earth tribulation was. This wood tribulation was definitely not inferior to the earth tribulation. However, any tribulation was child's play in front of Jiu Fei. Could these tribulations be comparable to his supreme heavenly tribulation? Continue. Jiu Fei said. The star beast immediately rushed forward again. However, in the next moment, vines suddenly shot up from the forest below like sharp arrows and entangled the star beast. Every vine was extremely huge. In the next moment, even a huge creature like the star beast was entangled by the vines. However, the star beast's body shook, and the vines that entangled its body broke immediately. Countless starlights appeared in the void around the star beast. It was as if a galaxy had appeared in the world. The countless vines that entangled the star beast were blocked by the star power that erupted from the star beast's body. Rumble, at this moment, a towering tree nearby suddenly moved. A huge treant stood up from the ground and instantly became bigger than the star beast. It blocked the star beast's path. Hundreds of millions of rays of dark green divine light rushed out of the treant and lingered in the void around it. A powerful sage-level aura spread from the treant's body. Chapter 3902. Jiu Fei brought the shooting sun supreme with him and rode on the astral beast, making their way through the sandstorm and entering the land of wood calamity. There was only one type of living being there, and that was wood elemental living beings. The land of wood calamity was extremely rich in wood elemental essence. Towering ancient trees could be seen everywhere, and a single vine could climb up several mountains. Under the nourishment of such rich wood elemental essence, even the most common grass could become a spirit, let alone the trees. Rumble, as the astral beast brought Jiu Fei and the shooting sun supreme along, a towering ancient tree rose from the ground and shot into the sky, blocking their way. A tree man? Jiu Fei could not help but frown upon seeing this. In the next moment, a powerful saint aura surged from the giant tree in front of him. At that moment, the divine tree was changing. The huge tree gradually disappeared amidst the endless azure divine light, and a figure appeared in the divine light. What is he trying to do? The shooting sun supreme said plainly. A mere tree demon of the saint level dared to jump around in front of them. Was he not courting death? Boom. Without any warning, the person who walked out of the azure divine light threw a punch at the astral beast. Powerful divine path power burst, causing the air to tremble. Roar. The astral beast roared furiously and opened its mouth. The tree man, who had just taken human form, flew into the beast's mouth and was devoured. Rumble. At that moment, the entire land of Wood Calamity began to shake. Towering ancient trees shot into the sky, numbering in the tens of thousands, covering the entire land of Wood Calamity. Apart from the towering ancient trees, there were also countless wood spirits, flowers, and vines. All sorts of wood elemental spirits leapt out and attacked Jiu Fei and the others. These guys, the shooting sun supreme could not help but shake his head. Although there were many wood elemental spirits in the land of Wood Calamity, at their level of cultivation, it was fine as long as there were not many of them. At this moment, Jiu Fei stood on the star beast with his hands behind his back, calmly watching this scene. At the same time, the star beast suddenly let out a long breath, and then inhaled fiercely. A wave of devouring power immediately surged out from its mouth. In the next moment, the void in front of the star beast suddenly collapsed and turned into a black hole. Countless wood attribute spiritual monsters that were attacking Jiu Fei and the others flew towards the black hole involuntarily and were directly swallowed by the star beast. Even the treants formed by the towering ancient trees were devoured by the star beast. This star beast was an adult savage beast. A single breath from its mouth was enough to devour the sun, moon, and stars. It possessed great power, so how could the wood-type creatures in the Wood Calamity land resist it? Be it cultivation or battle prowess, even the shooting sun supreme was a far cry from the star beast under Jiu Fei's feet. In just 2 breaths' time, countless wood attribute monsters had suffered a disaster. More than half of them had been devoured, and the rest were still flying towards the star beast's bloody mouth. Roar. At this moment, a furious roar was suddenly heard from the depths of the Wood Calamity land. As the roar was heard, the entire Wood Calamity land shook, as if it could collapse at any time. Supreme. Before Jiu Fei, who was standing on the star beast, could react, the shooting sun supreme, who was standing beside him, had a gleam of light in his eyes. The shooting sun supreme was very surprised that there was a supreme in the Wood Calamity land. At this moment, just as all the wood attribute spiritual monsters in the Wood Calamity land were about to be devoured by the star beast, a huge hand reached out from the depths of the Wood Calamity land and grabbed at the star beast. Even the star beast, which was much larger than a star, did not seem that huge in front of this huge hand. A supreme level power fluctuation spread from the huge green hand and sealed the void around the star beast in an instant, cutting off the heaven-devouring power that had erupted from the star beast's mouth. The remaining wood attribute spiritual monsters had long been scared out of their wits. When the devouring power disappeared, they immediately turned around and fled in panic. Boom! The star beast directly spat out a beam of starlight that collided with the huge cyan hand that was grabbing at it. The 2 extreme powers erupted, instantly forming a terrifying energy storm that swept out in all directions. The wood attribute spiritual monsters that fled were directly torn into pieces by the energy storm. The mountains collapsed, and the sky and earth collapsed. It was as terrifying as the end of the world. The huge green hand dissipated into the void. It had actually blocked the star beast's attack. Even the sun-shooting supremacy was extremely fearful of it. The star beast was many times stronger than him. It was an extreme savage beast that could compete with existences at the supremacy level. At that moment, a figure appeared in front of the star beast. It was a blurry figure, and even Jiu Fei could not see what it looked like. Boom! That existence charged directly at the star beast, causing the surrounding void to explode. A circle of white spatial ripples spread out. The star beast also moved. It threw a punch at the mysterious existence that was charging at it. Bam! A dull collision sound was heard. The figure had actually blocked the punch of the star beast. The power of the star beast could easily destroy a star region. The mysterious existence was not sent flying by the star beast. Roar! The star beast roared at the figure. Terrifying sound waves spread out instantly, causing the entire wood calamity land to tremble. Swoosh! The figure seemed to be able to change into many different forms. It directly turned into an immortal saber light and slashed at the star beast. The saber light easily cut through the void. Buzz! In the next moment, countless starlights appeared on the body of the star beast. The power of the stars emitted by each speck of starlight was much stronger than that of a real star. The star-like starlights collided directly with the saber light. Clanging sounds were endless. The saber light that was full of vitality directly cut through the starlights and landed on the body of the star beast. Clang! As the saber light landed, sparks appeared on the body of the star beast. This seemingly indestructible saber attack could not break through the scales on the body of the star beast. The saber light disappeared, and the mysterious figure reappeared. A powerful extreme divine power spread out, causing the heaven and earth to tremble. What is this? The shooting sun supreme asked in shock. An existence that is in a special state. Jiyu Fei said calmly. He did not expect that there would be someone in this world who could maintain such a state. Undying and indestructible, yet not truly alive. Chapter 3903. After Jiyu Fei subdued the star beast, he brought the shooting sun supreme and the star beast into the Lost Land, which was rumored to be a place where even supreme beings could get lost. The Lost Land was filled with danger. Even supreme beings had to be extremely careful when they came here. If they were accidentally pulled into a spatial crack, it would be difficult for them to come out. At that moment, the wood calamity land where Jiyu Fei and the others were was shaking violently. The entire wood calamity land was collapsing, and the endless wood essence chi that was released frantically gathered towards a figure in the sky. Heaven and earth transformation. This fella, Jiyu Fei, did not make a move when he saw this. He merely stood on the star beast with his hands behind his back and watched calmly. Master, why don't you give him a fatal blow before he recovers to his peak state? The shooting sun supreme, who was standing behind Jiyu Fei, asked with a frown. Jiyu Fei smiled but did not say anything. This fella's life had already become one with heaven and earth. To be more precise, he had become one with the heavenly path. He was the heavenly path, and the heavenly path was him. This special state allowed this mysterious fella to almost exist eternally. Of course, it was only almost. He could not truly exist eternally. One had to know that even the heavenly path would disappear at some point. This mysterious fella's life and the heavenly path complemented each other. This way, the heavenly path would not disappear so easily because of this fella's protection. This fella would also continue to exist because of the heavenly path's existence. This was the benefit of heaven and earth transformation. However, it also had a fatal flaw. This fella could not be like other supreme beings, who could roam the universe as they pleased. Interesting. Jiyu Fei knew that this fella was incredible. He wanted to take a shortcut and use this method to achieve eternity. However, this was only a small path. Since ancient times, countless outstanding existences had sought to break through and transcend the extreme path. However, no one had ever succeeded. Given Jiyu Fei's current cultivation base, he had to start looking for a way to break through the extreme path. The extreme path secret realm was already recognized as the highest realm in the current world of cultivation. Since there was no other path ahead, someone had to forge a path. However, no one knew how to get there or how to get there. Rumble. The void of the world shook and a part of the wood tribulation land disappeared completely. Boundless wood elemental essence gathered on a single figure. High Lord, the shooting sun supreme, was extremely shocked. He didn't expect to encounter such a powerful existence as soon as he entered the Lost Land. It was a purple-haired young man. He looked very young, but there was an ancient aura emanating from his bones. It's been hundreds of thousands of years since I've encountered an adult astral beast. The purple-haired youth stared at the astral beast beneath Ji Yufei's feet. The astral beast was countless times larger than a planet, and a purple light flashed in his eyes. An adult astral beast was rarely seen in the world. One had to know that it was too difficult for an astral beast to grow up. Who knew how many stars they had to devour? Even if billions of stars in a starfield were to be devoured, there might not be a single adult star beast. What's the fun in such an eternity? Ji Yufei looked at the purple-haired youth calmly. Who are you? The purple-haired young man's expression immediately turned grave as he looked at Ji Yufei. You're just a kid. What do you know about eternity? The purple-haired young man said coldly. How dare you? The shooting sun supreme, who was standing next to Ji Yufei, shouted at the purple-haired young man. This guy actually dared to disrespect his master. The purple-haired young man sneered and looked at the shooting sun supreme. A ray of purple light suddenly shot out from his eyes and shot towards the shooting sun supreme. The speed of the purple light was extremely fast. Before the shooting sun supreme could react, the ray of divine light had already shot in front of him. The shooting sun supreme was shocked. Just as he thought he was doomed, a hand reached out from the side and pointed with a finger, shattering the ray of divine light. Leave the astral beast and get lost. The purple-haired young man's gaze turned cold and a cold murderous aura emanated from his body. The entire sky and earth changed color because of it. A universe appeared indistinctly behind the purple-haired young man. The stars, the sun, and the moon were sinking within it. Such a phenomenon was really shocking. The shooting sun supreme was shocked, but Ji Yufei's expression did not change. This guy had refined a world. This guy was originally a supremacy who wanted to take the step beyond the extreme path. However, the price he had to pay was refining a large world. This was too extravagant. The power of the stars was a type of the power of the heavens and earth. It could replenish the power that had just been exhausted. The purple-haired young man had his eyes on the astral beast of Ji Yufei. The purple-haired young man did not think much of the shooting sun supreme's archery power. As for Ji Yufei, the purple-haired young man could not see through Ji Yufei's cultivation. This surprised him. Either this guy's cultivation was on par with his, or he was carrying a forbidden weapon. Moreover, it was a forbidden weapon of the extreme path, which was used to conceal his aura. If it was the former, it would be interesting. You're talking big. Do you think you're the Tian clan leader? Or Li clan's Li Changtian? Not long ago, Li Changtian was defeated by my master. The shooting sun supreme rolled his eyes and said arrogantly. Tian clan? Li clan? I know the Tian clan leader, but who is Li Changtian? The purple-haired young man tilted his head and thought for a moment. This guy, the shooting sun supreme, was shocked. This guy did not know Li Changtian. He was the former supremacy of the southern region of the primogenitor realm. Before Ji Yufei, there were only 3 supremacies in the entire southern region of the primogenitor realm. Supremacies could not only intimidate a region, but they could also contend for hegemony in the primogenitor realm. Every supremacy had intimidated the entire primogenitor realm. Their intimidating power was not limited to just one region. During Li Changtian's era, who in the entire primogenitor realm did not know Li Changtian? However, this guy did not seem to know Li Changtian. Could it be that he was a supremacy of another region before Li Changtian? The primogenitor realm was divided into 5 regions. Other regions also had supremacies. As expected of an antique that has lived for countless years, Ji Yufei sighed. At his cultivation level, there was no way forward. Naturally, he had to rely on himself to walk his own path. This purple-haired young man walked his own path of eternity. However, this guy's path was actually a small path. He borrowed the power of the heavenly Tao of the great heaven and earth. Although he could temporarily achieve eternity, he had to constantly evolve the great heaven and earth. However, he had to continuously evolve the great world, losing his freedom. Even if he wanted to travel, he could only do so through a special method. Chapter 3904. The purple-haired young man coexisted with the heavenly way. His battle prowess was so strong that even Jiu Fei felt pressured. "Little fella, since you're not leaving, you don't have to." The purple-haired young man made his move right away. As he stretched out his hand, endless electric lights appeared in the sky and bombarded towards Jiu Fei. Every electric light tore the void apart. The vast destructive power that spread out made even the Shooting Sun Supreme shudder. This fella, the Shooting Sun Supreme's eyes narrowed. There was a vast sea of lightning in front of him. Every electric light in the sea of lightning was enough to destroy him dozens of times over. This was the gap between them. A mid-level venerable realm existence and a supremacy realm supreme expert were simply too far apart. Boom! Endless starlight erupted from the star beast's body. With the star beast as the center, a star domain appeared in the Lost Land. In the next moment, the vast and terrifying sea of thunder directly crashed into this star field, and the power of thunder and the power of stars collided. Rumble, it was as if the sky and earth were being split apart. Chaotic energy was directly shot out. Any power of the laws of heaven and earth was torn apart and obliterated. Everything turned into nothingness in an instant. The star beast opened up a star domain and evolved the stars in the universe. However, the star beast's star domain only lasted for 3 breaths before it was shattered by the power of lightning. Roar! The star beast roared furiously. The violent power of lightning directly blasted him hundreds of millions of miles away, causing him to crash into the Earth elemental tribulation land. Boom! The supreme Earth-type power erupted. Countless Earth dragons rushed out and pounced towards the star beast. At this moment, the star beast went berserk. Huge stars rushed out of his body. Although they weren't real stars, they were more dazzling than real stars. Amidst a series of explosions, the Earth dragons were hit by the starlight and exploded, turning into the most primitive Earth elemental essence. The Earth elemental tribulation land didn't appear like the purple-haired young man. It was easily destroyed by the star beast. However, the Earth elemental tribulation land seemed difficult to destroy. Even if it was blasted apart, it would gradually repair itself. As soon as the star beast rushed out, a large electric hand directly grabbed it. At that moment, a mass of divine light spread out from the top of the star beast's head, and the electric hand was directly shaken away by the spreading divine light. A figure slowly rose from the astral beast's head. Within the divine light, Jiu Fei stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his expression calm. "You guys back off. I'll deal with this guy." After saying that, Jiu Fei took a step forward and instantly disappeared into the void. The star beast protected the Shooting Sun supremacy and retreated thousands of miles away. Boom! Bam! Dull clashing sounds rang out continuously as 2 figures moved rapidly in the void, clashing continuously and directly tearing apart the void between heaven and earth. It was as if 2 gods of destruction were fighting. Wherever they passed, everything was destroyed. The lost land trembled, and many powerful figures appeared nearby. The impact of a battle between supremacies was too great. One must know that supremacies were not ordinary supremacies. They were invincible existences among supremacies. For a supremacy like the Shooting Sun supremacy, a supremacy existence, a single slap from a supremacy could kill a large number of them. Although the lost land was frightening, it definitely could not trap a supremacy. Just as Jiu Fei and the purple-haired youth were fighting, in the deepest part of the lost land, on the peak of a sacred mountain floating in the void, a purple-robed woman sitting on a large rock suddenly opened her eyes. The purple-robed woman's face was covered with a veil. Her eyes seemed to be able to penetrate the endless void and see the battle between Jiu Fei and the purple-haired youth. "What a strong power!" the purple-robed woman exclaimed. "Who is barging into the lost land?" At that moment, a voice was heard. Then, a woman in white walked up from the foot of the mountain. This woman in white also had her face covered, not showing her real face. "Is that Yi Qingtian? I didn't expect him to still be alive," the woman in white exclaimed. "Yi Qingtian is one with the heavenly way. He is neither alive nor dead. Don't you know that?" the purple-robed woman said with a frown. "Master said that no matter how strong an existence is, in the end, they will fall. No one is an exception. Even supremacies are no exception. The woman in white said indifferently, "Is that so?" The purple-robed woman said no more. Their master was known to be able to calculate all the mysteries of heaven and see through everything. She knew the past and the future. She could deduce the fate of any living being. Of course, to be able to see through all the mysteries of heaven, she had to pay a huge price. Strange. There is actually someone in the Lost Land who is a match for Yi Qingtian. The woman in white said with some surprise. It's a foreign expert. The purple-robed woman said. Junior Sister Violet Spirit, can you take out the Heaven Escape mirror and have a look? The woman in white said to the purple-robed woman who was sitting cross-legged on the big rock. A trace of jealousy flashed in her eyes. Master had actually given the Ziwei Battle Palace's treasure to her junior sister to manage. There were not many disciples in the Ziwei Battle Palace. The palace master only had 2 successors. One was the purple-robed woman, Violet Spirit, and the other was the white-robed woman, Bai Ling. Violet Spirit was the junior sister, but she had received the teachings of the palace master. Violet Spirit hesitated for a moment. Then, she flipped her right hand and an ancient mirror immediately appeared in her hand. An ancient aura spread from the ancient mirror. Violet Spirit formed a seal and the ancient mirror immediately flew up from her hand and floated in the air. Violet Spirit then spat out a mouthful of essential ether onto the ancient mirror. In the next moment, the surface of the ancient mirror immediately became blurry. However, very quickly, an image appeared on the surface of the mirror. There were 2 figures fighting on the surface of the mirror. The 2 experts fighting were Ji Yufei and the purple-haired youth. This, Violet Spirit and Bai Ling were shocked when they saw the scene on the ancient mirror. At that moment, Ji Yufei and the purple-haired youth were fighting endlessly. Both of them used their ultimate moves, but it was difficult for them to truly overwhelm their opponent. Rumble, an extremely shocking sound came from the purple-haired youth's body. Then, rays of divine light rushed out from his body and turned into a peerless sword light that slashed towards Ji Yufei. Every ray of sword light seemed to be able to split the world in half. You want to play with swords with me? Ji Yufei shook his head in amusement. Then, he pointed out with a finger. An extremely sharp divine light rushed out from his finger and collided with one of the rays of sword light. In the next moment, the ray of sword light directly collapsed in the air. Sword moves the 9th heaven. Chapter 3905. Ji Yufei and the purple-haired young man started fighting. Powerful energy waves spread in all directions, causing the entire world to shake. Sword moves the 9 heavens. Ji Yufei directly displayed the supreme sword principle that he had created. He pointed out with his finger and a beam of sword light immediately shot out from his finger. At the same time, an invisible sword wave spread out, blocking the countless beams of sword light that pierced through the sky. Streaks of sword light that slashed down were all shattered in the void. No matter how sharp and domineering the beams of sword light that the purple-haired young man released were, they all collapsed. This was the power of Ji Yufei's finger. The power of the supreme sword principle that emanated from Ji Yufei's body was far stronger than that of an ordinary sword principle supremacy. In fact, Ji Yufei was not a supremacy of 9 Daos. To be exact, he was a supremacy of 10 Daos, one more than the legendary legend of Extreme Path. This was because Ji Yufei was also a sword principle supremacy. One sword to break all techniques. Ji Yufei's sword attack directly forced the purple-haired young man, Yi Qingtian, to retreat. I didn't expect you to be a sword principle supremacy. The purple-haired young man, Yi Qingtian's eyes flashed. A sword principle supremacy was not something that an ordinary supremacy could compare to. He himself was a wood elemental supremacy and a sword principle supremacy of dual Daos. Ji Yufei did not say anything. He pointed out with his finger again and another beam of sword light rushed out from his finger. It instantly pierced through the void and pierced the purple-haired young man's body. Buzz! The void in front of the purple-haired young man suddenly collapsed and a black hole appeared, swallowing the beam of sword light that pierced through it. I have become one with the heavenly way. I am neither alive nor dead. How can you fight against me? The purple-haired young man, Yi Qingtian, stared at Ji Yufei and said coldly, Heavenly way? I'll still kill you, Ji Yufei said as he took a step forward and waved his hand. An invisible sword wave spread out, leaving no traces behind. However, the void in the world was suddenly annihilated. At the same time, Yi Qingtian's body seemed to be blown by a gentle breeze, and his long purple hair fluttered. However, in the next moment, Yi Qingtian's entire body suddenly turned into a bloody mist. The void around him was also annihilated at the same time, turning into nothingness. At the sight of this, the shooting Sun Supreme and the adult Star Beast were dumbfounded. The might of their master's sword was actually so powerful. Yi Qingtian lost. Some powerful figures appeared nearby. This old monster has lived for countless years. How could he die so easily? A powerful creature said these words. Although the Lost Lands was an incomparably dangerous place, it was also a place of refuge for some powerful creatures. How is this possible? On the peak of a divine mountain in the deepest part of the Lost Lands, the two women were shocked when they saw this scene through the heaven evasion mirror. That was Yi Qingtian. Yi Qingtian had once been the supremacy of the eastern region. During his era, he had suppressed countless supremacies in the entire eastern region, and he had even refined an entire world, causing millions of lives to be lost. Who is that person? How could he annihilate Yi Qingtian with a single slash? Bai Ling, who was at the peak of the divine mountain, said in disbelief. Won't we know once we divine it? As Violet Spirit spoke, she immediately used the Violet Star divination technique. However, in the next moment, her expression changed drastically. The veil covering her face was slightly wet, and she seemed to have vomited blood. Little junior sister, Bai Ling was even more shocked when she saw this. She knew very well how capable her little junior sister was. Little junior sister Violet Spirit had inherited the legacy of the Palace Lord's master, so there were very few things in this world that she could not divine. However, it was obvious that little junior sister had suffered a backlash. I can't divine it. Violet Spirit sighed. That young man in black was definitely a heaven-defying existence. She had just started to divine it, yet she had already suffered a backlash from the heaven and earth. This shocked her to the extreme. There were generally two types of existences that could not be divine. The first type was a heaven-defying existence that could trample on the heaven way, ignore all the laws of the heaven and earth, and transcend beyond the heaven and earth. The second type were people with great fortune. Such people were blessed by the heavens, and no magical technique could predict the existence of such a blessed being. Could this guy be a heaven-defying existence? Bai Ling stared at the figure in the mirror and said in a trembling voice. Perhaps he's a person with great luck, Violet Spirit said after some thought. Who in this world could truly defy the heaven? Even someone like Yi Qingtian had to become one with the heaven way in the end and turn himself into a monster. At that moment, Yi Qingtian, who had been slashed into a bloody mist by Ji Yufei's sword, had not been completely annihilated. The bloody mist was rapidly condensing, and a figure appeared in it. Undying, and indestructible. Ji Yufei did not continue to attack. Instead, he quietly watched the purple-haired young man, who was reassembling his body. He could sense that this guy's aura had not weakened at all. In other words, his sword just now had not really hurt this guy. Very soon, in just 5 to 6 breaths, Yi Qingtian had completely recovered. Roar! Yi Qingtian roared at the sky. In the next moment, a universe suddenly appeared from his body and swallowed Ji Yufei. Ji Yufei felt the world spin, and then he found himself in a starry sky. Evolving the world with a single thought. Ji Yufei was still very calm. This guy had become one with the heaven way and could evolve the world at will, borrowing the power of the world to strengthen his body, and increasing his combat strength infinitely. Little guy, you've angered me. A loud voice resounded in this part of the world, and the entire starry sky shook. TSK, cut the crap. Show me what you've got, Ji Yufei said impatiently. This guy had not really taken that step. He was using another way to achieve eternity. However, this was not true eternity. Kill. The voice rang out again, and a shocking killing intent surged. Then, stars directly smashed towards Ji Yufei from all directions. Every star was exploding with power that almost surpassed the extreme way. Chaos of heaven and earth. Ji Fei crossed his arms in front of his chest, and a simple aura immediately spread from his body. Although it was just a gesture, it directly shook the heavens. When Ji Fei unleashed his power, the entire universe was thrown into chaos. All the laws of heaven and earth were thrown into disarray by Ji Fei's power. Countless stars that were smashing towards Ji Fei directly shattered in the void. The world that the purple-haired young man Yi Qingtian had evolved seemed to be on the verge of collapse. The power of the Heaven Way could not suppress the power of Ji Fei's chaos of heaven and earth. What? Chapter 3906. The purple-haired young man, Yi Qingtian, created a world with a single thought and swallowed Ji Fei into it. He was one with the heavenly Tao, so he could draw upon any power of heaven and earth. With the power of the myriad Taos, even supremacies would die if they were swallowed into his world. However, Ji Fei was different from ordinary supremacies. Ji Fei was a legend of the extreme Tao, a paragon of the 10 Taos. As soon as the chaos of heaven and earth appeared, the world that Yi Qingtian had created became chaotic. All the power of heaven and earth became chaotic. Soon, the power of earth, water, wind, and fire appeared. The void collapsed, and primal chaos rushed out. The world could collapse at any time, which shocked Yi Qingtian. Who are you? Are you the reincarnation of those old antiques? Yi Qingtian's figure appeared in the void. You're out. Ji Fei flashed and threw a punch at Yi Qingtian. The fist force was like a mountain, shaking the heavens and the earth. With one punch, the entire heaven and earth immediately collapsed. Yi Qingtian's face was gloomy. He grabbed the sky with his right hand, and the monstrous destructive power that was released from the collapse of the world was instantly caught in his hand. He then punched at Ji Fei's fist. Boom! With a loud bang, the two supreme forces collided. Two figures were instantly sent flying, and then they charged at each other again. Little fellow, I'll show you how powerful it is to become one with the heavenly Tao. Yi Qingtian roared, and endless light bloomed in the sky. At this moment, he was the heavenly Tao, and the power of the myriad Taos surged from his body. At this moment, he was no longer a paragon of the 2 Taos, but a paragon of the myriad Taos. He could control the myriad Taos of heaven and earth. According to common sense, no matter how heaven-defying one's talent was, it was impossible to become a paragon of the myriad Taos. It should be known that a paragon of the 9 Taos was a legend in the primogenitor's realm. A paragon of the myriad Taos. What kind of concept was that? Although Yi Qingtian was using tricks, he could really control the power of the myriad Taos. In the next moment, the power of the myriad Taos exploded, and Ji Fei was sent flying. Cracks appeared on his body, and his supreme physical body was almost shattered. This, the shooting sun supremacy and the star beast, who were watching the battle from afar, were extremely shocked. This was the first time they had seen Ji Fei being suppressed by someone. Even Li Changtian and Old Monster Chu didn't have such power. Could it be that this fellow was even more powerful than Li Changtian and Old Monster Chu? A supremacy was an invincible existence amongst the supreme beings. They could intimidate an entire era. Existences stronger than a supremacy could only exist in the realm of legends. Surpassing the extreme Tao, transcending everything, eternal and indestructible. Since ancient times, who in the universe could surpass the extreme Tao and transcend everything? Even Yi Qingtian couldn't be considered to have transcended everything. Perhaps he had already surpassed the extreme path and touched that realm, but he hadn't truly stepped into that realm. Boom! A loud sound rang out, and Ji Fei was once again sent flying. A bloody hole had actually appeared on his chest, and his supreme physical body had been pierced through. Ji Fei's gaze sharpened. In the next moment, the bloody hole on his chest rapidly shrank, and his injured body rapidly recovered. In just a breath, his physical body had completely recovered. Little fellow, accept your fate. Yi Qingtian strode towards Ji Fei. With every step he took, the aura that erupted from his body grew stronger. When he arrived in front of Ji Fei, the entire world seemed to be collapsing and being destroyed. Ha ha! Accept my fate. What a joke. My fate is up to me, not the heavens. Since you have become one with the heavenly way, I shall transform the heavens with one hand. Ji Fei laughed loudly. In the next moment, he directly struck out with the heavenly transformation hand. A huge palm shadow appeared in the void, and enveloped Yi Qingtian. Rumble, the heavenly transformation hand erupted, and the power of the myriad Daos that rushed out from Yi Qingtian's body was directly dissolved by Ji Fei's heavenly transformation hand. Heavenly transformation hand? Yi Qingtian was extremely shocked. He desperately mobilized the power of the myriad Daos, and countless Dao patterns directly rushed out from his body and attacked Ji Fei's heavenly transformation hand. However, the power of the myriad Daos that rushed out from Yi Qingtian's body was completely dissolved the moment it came into contact with Ji Fei's heavenly transformation hand. Nothing was left. The power of the myriad Daos was simply a joke in front of Ji Fei. So what if you transform your body into the myriad Daos? I will transform it with one hand. The heavenly transformation hand directly grabbed at Yi Qingtian. Although Yi Qingtian was desperately attacking, he still couldn't block it. The power of the myriad Daos in the sky was constantly being dissolved. The next moment, like a startled rabbit, he instantly retreated to avoid the attack. 1 foot trampling the heavens. At this moment, Ji Fei took a step forward and directly caught up with Yi Qingtian. Then, he stomped his foot down. Bam! With a muffled sound, Yi Qingtian was actually stomped down from the sky by Ji Fei's foot. With a loud bang, he smashed into a mountain below. A cloud of dust rushed out from the mountain and then spread in all directions. In the next moment, the entire mountain below directly exploded and turned into dust. A figure with soaring murderous intent soared into the sky. The heavenly transformation hand and the heaven trampling steps were battle skills that Ji Fei had created himself. They surpassed the scope of ordinary battle skills and were already close to that realm of battle skills. Once the heavenly transformation hand was used, even the power of the myriad Daos in the sky was insufficient. Yi Qingtian soared into the sky and came in front of Ji Fei. He stared at Ji Fei in shock and anger. He really couldn't believe that this guy could be so powerful. Ordinary supremacies would have been killed by him countless times. It wasn't like he hadn't killed supremacies before. It's rare to meet a good opponent. Again, Ji Fei charged forward without hesitation. How preposterous. Yi Qingtian was shocked and angry at the same time. He could only bite the bullet and face Ji Fei, who was attacking him. The power of the myriad Dao gathered on his fists and smashed towards Ji Fei. The two supreme experts started fighting again. This guy can actually fight a monster like Yi Qingtian endlessly. The experts who were watching the battle nearby were extremely shocked. Yi Qingtian was a taboo existence in the Lost Land. As long as one didn't provoke him, they would be fine. However, if they provoked him, the consequences would be severe. If it was light, they would be crippled. If it was heavy, they would be directly killed and their body and soul would be destroyed. However, now, there was actually an existence that could compete with Yi Qingtian. This made everyone feel a little uneasy. Once the balance in the Lost Land was broken, the consequences would be very serious. If these two guys continue to fight, the entire Lost Land will probably be destroyed. Bai Ling, who was at the peak of the sacred mountain in the depths of the Lost Land, said as she stared at the mirror in the sky in horror. Chapter 3907. The combat strength displayed by Ji Fei and Yi Qingtian had almost surpassed the extreme path. It was the power of breaking through the extreme path. Ji Fei was a little moved. He thought that he was the only one who could break through the extreme path for a short period of time. He didn't expect that this guy could do it too. However, after thinking about it, Ji Fei felt that it made sense. Although this guy was walking on a small path, he had still touched that level. If nothing unexpected happened, this guy would be able to continue living. Although it wasn't that free, it was still a different kind of eternity. However, in Ji Fei's opinion, the price to pay for this kind of eternity was too high. He wouldn't walk Yi Qingtian's path. Boom. Bam. Ji Fei and Yi Qingtian constantly displayed the power of breaking through the extreme path. A casual attack could shatter the void and destroy the world. If it wasn't for the fact that they didn't want to destroy the Lost Land and tried their best to restrain the extreme path, the entire Lost Land would have been destroyed. The so-called dangerous places in the Lost Land couldn't withstand a single blow from Ji Yufei and Yi Qingtian. They could be wiped out easily. Ji Yufei and Yi Qingtian fought as they walked. Very soon, they rushed into a place filled with the aura of death. The mysterious experts who were watching the battle all stopped and didn't dare to get close. Boom, boom, boom. The land of death in front of them began to tremble. Terrifying death energy burst out from within, and heart-palpitating roars came from within. It's the death grotto heaven of old freak Tian Xie. They actually broke into old freak Tian Xie's territory. There's going to be a good show to watch. Someone whispered. Boom. In the next moment, the grotto heaven in front of them suddenly exploded. Endless death energy was like the eruption of 100,000 volcanoes, spreading in all directions. Everywhere it passed, all living things withered and all living things lost their vitality. The mysterious experts outside all retreated, not daring to let the exploding death energy get close to them. When the shooting Sun Supreme and the Star Beast saw this, they had no choice but to retreat. A mass of starlight emerged from the Star Beast's body and blocked the sweeping deathly aura. However, the moment it came into contact with the death chi, the layer of starlight outside the Star Beast's body dimmed instantly. This caused the Star Beast to turn pale with fright, and it hurriedly retreated, rushing out of the death chi. Roar! An earth-shattering roar rang out. In the next moment, the deathly aura that was still sweeping outwards retreated like a receding tide, and all of it gathered on a terrifying figure. It was a white skeleton, and it was a human skeleton. The skeleton was madly devouring the deathly aura around it. Soon, flesh began to grow on the skeleton. Flesh, blood, tendons, and bones rapidly appeared, and the body of flesh and blood began to reform. In next to no more than 5 or 6 breaths of time, the skeleton had transformed into a white-haired young man with ghastly pale skin, a cold expression, and a pair of eyes that emanated a bloody glow. His hair was like snow, and his eyes were like blood. This young man was the famous Tian Xie in the Lost Lands. Tian Xie and Yi Qingtian were equally famous, and they were known as the 2 old monsters of the Lost Lands. To be able to be called old monsters, these 2 fellows had lived for countless years. You 2 bastards, you destroyed my grotto heaven. I'm not done with you. The old monster Tian Xie roared and attacked. Rays of deathly light immediately rushed out of his hand, turning into a deathly blade that slashed at Ji Yufei and Yi Qingtian. Clang! Ji Yufei raised his hand to block a blade light. The deathly blade slashed at his arm, causing him to feel pain. A large hole was cut in his sleeve. Of course, the deathly blade light was also shattered by Ji Yufei in the void. Good heavens! When the old monster Tian Xie saw this, he could not help but be shocked. This fellow could actually block his deathly blade light with his bare hands. At this moment, Yi Qingtian drew the myriad Dao's power to his body. The deathly blade light could not pose any threat to him. Once the myriad Dao's power appeared, it directly shattered everything. Ji Yufei retaliated. With a point of his finger, an immortal sword light immediately rushed out of his hand and instantly pierced through the old monster Tian Xie. The old monster Tian Xie's figure instantly disappeared into the void. In the next moment, he reappeared in front of Yi Qingtian. A terrifying deathly energy exploded from the old monster Tian Xie's body. He let out a strange cry and directly punched at Yi Qingtian. Bang! Yi Qingtian directly stretched out his right hand to block the punch. Boom! 2 supreme powers exploded. The 2 figures instantly separated, but in the next moment, they once again charged at each other. Ji Yufei also attacked, and the 3 supreme experts began to fight. Sometimes, Yi Qingtian and the old monster Tian Xie worked together to force Ji Yufei to continuously retreat. Other times, it was Ji Yufei and Yi Qingtian who attacked the old monster Tian Xie at the same time, constantly blasting him away. The crowd of onlookers was dumbfounded when they saw this scene. The old monster Tian Xie has also been alarmed. At the peak of the sacred mountain in the depths of the Lost Land, the 2 successors of the Emperor Star Battle Palace couldn't help but be indescribably shocked when they saw this scene from the Heaven Escape mirror. I'm afraid only Master can resolve this battle, Bai Ling said with a trembling voice. Invincible existences like the old monster Tian Xie and Yi Qingtian had not appeared in the world for more than 100,000 years, but now, 3 supreme experts had suddenly jumped out. There was no doubt that the supreme experts were powerful. As a result, the battle became even more intense. Pitch-black spatial cracks continuously appeared in the void. Extreme destruction fis. Ji Yufei had no choice but to go all out against these two fellows. He had even used his trump card, combat skills. Bang! The old monster Tian Xie directly exploded and turned into a bloody mist. But very quickly, old monster Tian Xie recovered and reconstructed his physical body. The old monster Tian Xie was about to explode, but at this moment, Yi Qingtian's extreme destruction fist instantly bombarded him. The next moment, the old monster Tian Xie's body exploded again. Roar! The old monster Tian Xie instantly reformed his body and roared at the sky. He was extremely depressed. Fortunately, Ji Yufei and Yi Qingtian were fighting at this time. This allowed the old monster Tian Xie to reform his body and join the battle. In the end, the 3 experts directly killed their way into the depths of the Lost Land. Rumble! The energy fluctuations that erupted from the bodies of the 3 Supremes shook the entire Lost Land. They're here. At the peak of the God Mountain, Bai Ling was indescribably shocked. Even though the vast and terrifying divine might had been weakened by the protective formation of the God Mountain, it was enough to suffocate Zi Ling and Bai Ling even though only a sliver of the divine might had reached the God Mountain. This is too terrifying. Violet Spirit was inexplicably shocked. Extreme Supremes were already strong enough, but these 3 guys were definitely many times stronger than ordinary Supremes. Perhaps they had already broken through to the legendary realm that their master had mentioned. Master is still in a deep sleep. What should we do? Bai Ling stared at the 3 experts in the distant sky and asked in shock. Just as Bai Ling finished speaking, they heard the sound of a door opening behind them. Violet Spirit and Bai Ling quickly turned around and saw that the door of the temple had already opened. A figure was slowly walking out of the temple. Master, Violet Spirit and Bai Ling hurriedly bowed to the mysterious person who had walked out of the temple. This person was mysterious and unfathomable. His figure was blurry, and no one had seen his true appearance. Yi Qingtian, old monster Tian Xie? Who is that person? How can he fight against the 2 of them? The mysterious person said indifferently. Violet Spirit and Bai Ling couldn't help but look at each other. Violet Spirit said, "We don't know who he is either. Perhaps he's an outsider." An outsider? The Palace Lord of the Emperor Star Battle Palace was a little surprised. Since when had another supremacy appeared in the ancestral realm? Although the Emperor Star Battle Palace was aloof and didn't even exist on the ancestral continent, the Emperor Star Battle Palace was still very familiar with the happenings in the ancestral realm. At that moment, the 3 experts fought as they walked, charging directly towards the sacred mountain floating in the sky. What? Violet Spirit and Bai Ling couldn't help but be shocked when they saw this. If these 3 fellows were to collide with the mountain, the entire mountain would directly explode and turn into dust. Just as Ji Yufei and the others were about to collide with the sacred mountain, a ball of divine light appeared on the sacred mountain and instantly enveloped the entire sacred mountain. Boom! Ji Yufei and the others collided with the layer of divine light outside the sacred mountain. In the next moment, the entire sacred mountain shook, and the layer of divine light protecting the sacred mountain rippled like water. The 3 figures instantly separated. When Violet Spirit and Bai Ling saw this, they were so scared that they almost fell to the ground. At that moment, the Palace Lord of the Emperor Star Battle Palace made a move and blocked the 3 supremacy experts who were charging towards them. Ji Yufei was shocked. He had never imagined that there would be so many crouching tigers and hidden dragons in this small lost lands. There were so many terrifying existences hidden in this place. Old geezer Ziwei, come down and fight if you have the gut. Old freak Tian Xie shouted at the figure at the peak of the sacred mountain. The Palace Lord of the Emperor Star Battle Palace ignored old freak Tian Xie and had no intention of joining the battle. He only took action to protect the sacred mountain. Could he be the palace lord of the Emperor Star Battle Palace? Ji Yufei looked at the mysterious and unfathomable figure at the peak of the mountain. In the next moment, he opened his heavenly eye, but he still couldn't see anything. Again, Yi Qingtian roared and attacked again. The power of the myriad Tao exploded from his body, and two palms larger than mountains grabbed at Ji Yufei and old freak Tian Xie. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Old freak Tian Xie roared and turned into an immortal light of death. He pierced through Yi Qingtian's hand and instantly appeared in front of Yi Qingtian. Chapter 3908. Ji Yufei's power broke through the extreme breaking realm once again. This shocked old ancestor Tian Xie and Yi Qingtian, especially Yi Qingtian, who seemed to be able to break through to the extreme breaking realm at any time. How was this possible? Even for existences like them, breaking through to the extreme breaking realm would consume a large amount of primordial qi. In order to obtain powerful combat power, one had to pay a certain price. The more powerful the combat power, the greater the price one had to pay. The extreme breaking realm was the strongest known realm. Even people like Yi Qingtian and old ancestor Tian Xie could not break through the extreme breaking realm at any time. This guy, at this time, Ji Yufei broke through the extreme breaking realm again and entered the extreme breaking realm. Then, he directly punched twice, and the extreme breaking fist force that could crush everything arrived. Without any suspense, Yi Qingtian and old monster Tian Xie were directly smashed into a cloud of blood mist by Ji Yufei's punch. They were stronger than the High Lord. If they left the Lost Lands and went to the ancestral realm, they would be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the strongest existence in the ancestral realm. However, at this time, they were directly smashed by Ji Yufei's fist. This was the gap between them. No matter how powerful one's divine power was, or how powerful the myriad Tao's power was, in the face of absolute power, they could not withstand a single blow. Roar. With an angry roar, Yi Qingtian's figure once again appeared in the void. He had recovered in an instant and reformed his physical body. Myriad Tao as one, kill, kill, kill. Yi Qingtian was going all out. The power of the myriad Tao gathered crazily on his hands and intertwined with each other. His combat power was almost infinite. Clang. Yi Qingtian waved his hands and rays of divine light rushed out from his hands. As if they had turned into peerless heavenly swords, they slashed at Ji Yufei. At this moment, Yi Qingtian also broke through to the extreme breaking realm. Ji Yufei waved his hand and directly shattered the shocking sword light that was slashing at him. Then, he charged at Yi Qingtian. At this time, old monster Tian Xie also recovered. Blood stains the heavens. Old monster Tian Xie unleashed his killer move. Boundless blood light erupted from his body, instantly dyeing the entire world red. The strange bloody light immediately enveloped Ji Yufei. The void shrouded by the bloody light was silently annihilated. Boom! A figure broke through the bloody light and instantly appeared in front of old monster Tian Xie. What, heavenly diabolism, was taken aback. He immediately retreated, trying to distance himself from Ji Yufei. However, Ji Yufei did not chase after him. Instead, he threw a punch at old monster Tian Xie. His fist instantly broke through the restraints of space and time and smashed into old monster Tian Xie's body. This, before old monster Tian Xie could finish his thought, his body was once again smashed by Ji Yufei's punch. The power of the extreme breaking realm could crush everything. Even old monster Tian Xie, who was stronger than a supremacy, could not withstand this power. Of course, although Ji Yufei could suppress the evil old monster in terms of strength, it wasn't easy for him to kill the evil old monster. Just as Ji Yufei was about to attack again and completely destroy old monster Tian Xie's spiritual soul, Yi Qingtian charged at him. Boundless sword light descended from the sky like a sword rain, falling towards Ji Yufei. In the next moment, Ji Yufei's body shook and a ball of divine light immediately spread out from his body. All the sword light that pierced through him was blocked by the ball of divine light. Peerless sword. Without hesitation, Ji Yufei directly displayed the peerless sword principle that he had comprehended. An immortal sword light rushed out from his body and directly broke through Yi Qingtian's sword light. Then, it strangled Yi Qingtian. Swish. The sword light instantly destroyed the power of the myriad Tao. It flashed across Yi Qingtian's body and directly cut him into two. However, Yi Qingtian was one with the heavenly Tao. Even though he was cut by Ji Yufei's sword, he did not seem to suffer much damage. Yi Qingtian's body that was cut into two joined back together. Very soon, Yi Qingtian's injured body was healed. Boom! The power of the myriad Tao once again exploded from Yi Qingtian's body, shaking the heavens. At this moment, all the experts who were watching the battle nearby were indescribably shocked. These guys had the power to destroy heaven and earth with just a wave of their hands. To ordinary supremacies, this was absolutely fatal. The three supreme experts fought without rest. Everywhere they passed, be it the mountains or the lakes, everything was destroyed. The Lost Lands was actually a world that transcended the ancestral realm. At this moment, the entire Lost Lands was in turmoil. All the living beings were extremely terrified. This part of the world was incomplete to begin with, and there were unknown dangers everywhere. After being shaken by the power of Ji Yufei, Tian Xie, and Yi Qingtian, the entire Lost Lands actually showed signs of collapsing. This shocked the experts who were hiding here. We can't let these three continue fighting. At the peak of the Divine Mountain, the mysterious palace lord who had just walked out of the divine hall of the Emperor Star Battle Palace was muttering to himself. Behind him stood Violet Spirit and Bai Ling. The Emperor Star Battle Palace dominated the world with algebra. It was mysterious and unfathomable. It was said that everything in the world had a fixed number. Everything could be traced and could be deduced from the past and the future. However, there were still some unimaginable taboos in this world that were difficult to deduce. Even the Palace Lord of the Emperor Star Battle Palace could not deduce them. Violet Spirit and Bai Ling were a little excited. Was their master going to make a move? Although they were the successors of the Emperor Star Battle Palace, they had never seen their master in action before. This was because the Palace Lord's master would often go into seclusion. Sometimes, he would go into seclusion for thousands of years, or even tens of thousands of years. Moreover, the Emperor Star Battle Palace's divine arts did not specialize in fighting. The people of the Emperor Star Battle Palace were unparalleled in their ability to seek fortune and avoid calamity, but they were not good at fighting. Boom! At this time, there was a loud noise as a violent force exploded. The three figures separated, but then they rushed together again. Ji Yufei was fighting 1 against 2, but he was still at ease. From time to time, he broke through his limits and entered the invincible breaking limit realm. He beat Tian Xie and Yi Qingtian until they couldn't fight back. Yi Qingtian and Tian Xie had been beaten badly by Ji Yufei, but they didn't care about their vitality. They wanted to break through to the breaking limit realm and fight Ji Yufei endlessly. Yi Qingtian was one with the heavenly path, so it was not difficult for him to break through to the breaking limit realm. It was the same for old monster Tian Xie. There was something wrong with his corporeal body. Half of his corporeal body had already become an eternal body. This kind of physique was much stronger than an extreme Path Dao body. Even Ji Yufei didn't know how this guy managed to cultivate his fleshly body to such a degree. However, under Ji Yufei's fists, these half-step eternal realm existences were nothing to him. Fellow Taoists, can you stop and listen to me? The Emperor Star Battle Palace's Palace Master sent a voice transmission to Ji Yufei and the others. What? Ji Yufei, Yi Qingtian, and Tian Xie were a little surprised. This guy actually wanted to mediate. The Emperor Star Battle Palace's Palace Master was not simple. It was very likely that he was the third half-step eternal existence in the Lost Land, besides Yi Qingtian and Tian Xie. People said that the Emperor Star Battle Palace was just a group of warlocks, but now it seemed that the Emperor Star Battle Palace was not simple. Why should we listen to you? Ji Yufei said. You all have something to ask of me, the Emperor Star Battle Palace's Palace Master suddenly said. This, Ji Yufei couldn't help but be surprised when he heard this. Even Yi Qingtian and Tian Xie were stunned. The three figures directly separated and stood in the void. You know we have something to ask of you. Tian Xie stared at the figure on the peak of the Divine Mountain, his blood-red pupils shrank. Of course I know. The Emperor Star Battle Palace's Palace Master's voice continued to ring in the hearts of Ji Yufei and the others. Then do you think I can take that step? Tian Xie stared at the Emperor Star Battle Palace's Palace Master, his face extremely solemn. No. The Emperor Star Battle Palace's Palace Master said these two words. You can't. Why not? Old Monster Tian Xie said unhappily. This is fate. I can't explain it, the Emperor Star Battle Palace Master said. He could only divine the result. Hehe, what about me? Yi Qingtian said with a smile. I can't divine it. The Emperor Star Battle Palace Master was very direct. What? Yi Qingtian was speechless. He couldn't divine it. How was this possible? What about him? Yi Qingtian pointed at Ji Yufei. I can't divine it. The Emperor Star Battle Palace Master said the same thing. When Ji Yufei heard this, his heart skipped a beat. The Emperor Star Battle Palace Master couldn't divine it. What should he do? The reason he had entered the Lost Land was to find the Emperor Star Battle Palace Master to divine his past and future. But now it seemed that he had come for nothing. My three friends, please enter the Divine Hall for a while. The Emperor Star Battle Palace Master spoke very calmly. His blurry figure was like a wisp of smoke that could be blown away by the wind at any time. Swoosh! Just as Tian Xie and Yi Qingtian were hesitating, Ji Yufei took a step forward and appeared on the peak of the Divine Mountain, facing the Emperor Star Battle Palace Master. Tian Xie and Yi Qingtian looked at each other and disappeared. The next moment, they appeared on the peak of the Divine Mountain. Please. The Emperor Star Battle Palace Master said and led the way to the Divine Hall. The Divine Hall had been built by the first Emperor Star Battle Palace Master. It had been blessed by more than a dozen palace masters and constantly refined. The entire Divine Hall had become a supreme treasure. As long as the Divine Hall was not destroyed, the Emperor Star Battle Palace's inheritance would not be severed. Violet Spirit and Bai Ling were extremely excited to see the three supreme experts. They were definitely the strongest existences in the primogenitor's realm. The Emperor Star Battle Palace Master led the way and walked directly into the Divine Hall. Ji Yufei didn't hesitate and also walked in. Chapter 3909. The Divine Hall of the Ziwei Battle Palace had existed for countless years. After the blessing of successive palace masters, countless Dao patterns appeared and intertwined on the pitch-black body of the palace. The moment Ji Yufei stepped into the Divine Hall, he felt that it was unusual. However, after entering the Divine Hall, Ji Yufei's eyes lit up. He saw that the Divine Hall was filled with specks of starlight. It was as if he was walking in a starry sky. All of this seemed illusory, but Ji Yufei felt that it was somewhat real. Was there a universe inside the Divine Hall of the Ziwei Battle Palace? Even old freak Tian Xie and Yi Qingtian were shocked by the scene in the shrine. There was the aura of heaven and earth inside the Divine Hall. The Ziwei Battle Palace is really generous. Old Monster Tian Xie laughed. Palace Master Ji Wei did not speak. She walked forward and sat on the throne in the center of the Divine Hall. Fellow Taoists, please sit. Palace Master Ji Wei said with a wave of her hand. Cut the crap. What do you want? Yi Qingtian stared at Palace Master Ji Wei. No one dared to underestimate the Ziwei Battle Palace in the Lost Land. All the experts in the Lost Land kept a respectful distance from it. However, there were also people who tried every possible way to find people from the Ziwei Battle Palace to divine the past and future for them in order to avoid calamity. However, fate was difficult to change. Even if one knew in advance, misfortune could not be avoided. Of course, there were also people who used great perseverance and wisdom to change their fate. They overcame fate and transcended everything to become the strongest existence. However, such people were few and far between. It should be known that even saints could not escape fate. They were bound by heaven and earth. The ones who truly transcended heaven and earth were paragons. In other words, only by becoming a paragon could one overcome fate. One's fate was in their own hands. However, even paragons would fall one day. There seemed to be no one who truly transcended everything in this universe. You all want to transcend, but you can't. Palace Master Ji Wei glanced at Yi Qingtian and said lightly, "TCH, do you think you can transcend?" Yi Qingtian said disdainfully, "If Palace Mistress Zi Wei could transcend, why would she even bother talking to them? She could kill him with a single slap." The closer he got to that realm, the more reverence Yi Qingtian felt. That realm was simply too powerful. "I can't transcend, but I can show you a bright path." Palace Master Zi Wei continued. What? When Palace Master Zi Wei said this, not only Celestial Diabolical and Yi Qingtian, but even Ji Yufei was moved. "What bright path?" Old Monster Tian Xie hurriedly said. "The primogenitor's realm might be the origin of the myriad worlds, the beginning of the world. However, who knows if there are other worlds like the primogenitor's realm?" Palace Master Zi Wei pondered for a moment and said, "You mean?" Yi Qingtian looked at Palace Master Zi Wei in shock. He actually had the same question. Perhaps there was a greater world above the primogenitor's realm. The myriad heavens and myriad worlds started with the primogenitor's realm. What did the primogenitor's realm start with? Ji Yufei, who had been silent all this time, suddenly muttered to himself. Brother Ji Yu is indeed worthy of being an extreme legend that only appears once in a million years. He actually sees more clearly than us antiques who have lived for countless years. Palace Master Zi Wei looked at Ji Yufei. "You know me?" Ji Yufei was a little surprised. It should be said that Ziwei Battle Palace was located in the depths of the starry sky. It was isolated from the rest of the world. Although he was famous in the primogenitor's realm, the people of Ziwei Battle Palace should not know who he was. "You defeated 9 supremes in one battle, trampled Old Monster Chu, punched Li Changtian, and are almost invincible in the southern region of the primogenitor's realm. Your name has probably already spread throughout the cultivation world of the primogenitor's realm." Palace Master Zi Wei said with a smile. What? Violet Spirit and Bai Ling, who were standing next to Palace Master Zi Wei, were shocked when they heard their master's words. Was this guy really that powerful? The two girls looked at Ji Yufei with stars in their eyes. "It's hard for people not to know you," Palace Master Zi Wei said. At this time, Old Monster Tian Xie and Yi Qingtian realized that the guy who had fought with them for a long time had such a powerful battle record. Was this guy really an extreme legend? "What do you mean by the path?" Ji Yufei calmly looked at Palace Lord Zi Wei and said. Everyone knew how to say such things. At his level of cultivation, he naturally pursued transcendence. However, theory was theory after all. It was not a concrete method. What they needed now was how to do it. That was the key. "The path is in Supreme Tomb," Palace Master Zi Wei said. What? Ji Yufei and the others couldn't help but be shocked when they heard this. Supreme Tomb? That was a dangerous place in the primogenitor's realm. Even Supremes would die there. Why was this dangerous place called Supreme Tomb? That was because there were too many Supremes buried there. It was the burial ground of Supremes, and it was many times more dangerous than the Lost Land. Quasi-Supremes entering Supreme Tomb was completely courting death. Even Supremes would have to kneel there, let alone Quasi-Supremes. "You want to trick us?" Old Monster Tian Xie roared at Palace Master Zi Wei. Even as strong as they were still afraid of Supreme Tomb. "It's up to you whether you believe it or not," Palace Master Zi Wei said indifferently. "Supreme Tomb is so big. How can we find the path?" Yi Qingtian frowned. Supreme Tomb was incomparably vast. Trying to find the path inside was like looking for a needle in a haystack. "That's your problem. It has nothing to do with me," Palace Master Zi Wei said indifferently. "Let's go." Old Ancestor Tian Xie immediately stood up and rushed out of the shrine. Yi Qingtian also rushed out. These two couldn't wait to go to Supreme Tomb. Only Ji Yufei was still sitting there quietly. "The path you mentioned, is it a passage to another world?" Ji Yufei looked at Palace Master Zi Wei and said indifferently. "You're not going?" Palace Master Zi Wei looked at Ji Yufei and said. "Is there really a world of a higher level than the primogenitor's realm in this world?" Ji Yufei said. He didn't answer the question. "I don't know. Everything is possible." Palace Master Zi Wei pondered for a while before saying, "Everything is possible." Ji Yufei was a little speechless. This guy said so much, but it was equivalent to saying nothing. He chatted with Palace Lord Ziwei for a while longer before bidding farewell to her. Then, he walked out of the divine hall and left directly. The great calamity of the Lost Land was resolved by Palace Master Ziwei just like that. This shocked all the surrounding existences who were watching the show. Chapter 39:10. In the Lost Land, a battle beyond the level of a great lord had been resolved by the Palace Lord of Ziwei Battle Palace. This left everyone dumbfounded and in disbelief. Just as Palace Lord Ziwei breathed a sigh of relief, Ji Yufei suddenly returned. This made the two maids, Violet Spirit and Bai Ling, very nervous. Even Palace Lord Ziwei was surprised. When Ji Yufei stated the purpose of his visit, Palace Lord Ziwei was even more surprised. An existence like Ji Yufei was already invincible in the world, but he did not know who his parents were. Palace Lord Ziwei did not refuse. He directly took out something that even Ji Yufei would be jealous of. It was the mysterious reincarnation plate of creation. Countless years ago, the ancient Buddha of the human realm had tried to refine the 6 paths of reincarnation, to establish reincarnation and control life and death, but in the end, he failed. One of the 6 paths that the ancient Buddha had opened up was refined by Ji Yufei and became one of his inner worlds. Ziwei Battle Palace actually had the reincarnation plate of creation. No wonder it was known to be able to deduce the past and the future. Ji Yufei bit the tip of his finger and dripped a drop of blood onto the reincarnation plate of creation. In the next moment, this drop of blood was swallowed by the reincarnation plate of creation. In the next moment, a scene appeared on the reincarnation plate of creation. It was Ji Yufei's life. Those scenes were rewinding, and soon, he saw the scene of himself becoming a supreme being. Then, it was the scene of him coming to the ancestral realm. Ji Yufei had experienced too much. After half an hour, he saw the scene of himself cultivating in the Taishen sect, and then the scene of his master, Wn Xiancheng, bringing him back to the Taishen sect. However, just as Ji Yufei was nervously staring at the reincarnation plate of creation, the scene that emerged from it suddenly disappeared. The scene of him being brought back to the Taishen sect by his master, Wn Xiancheng, did not appear. This shocked him. How could this be? Even Palace Lord Ziwei was shocked. Even the creation reincarnation disc could not divine the first half of Ji Yufei's life. Such a thing rarely happened. Obviously, someone had erased Ji Yufei's childhood memories. Fellow Daoist Ji Yu, forgive me for being powerless. Palace Master Ziwei shook her head. Even the creation reincarnation disc could not divine what had happened to Ji Yufei when he was young. Who in the primogenitor realm could divine everything for Ji Yufei? Having no other choice, Ji Yufei bade his farewell. This time around, he did not turn around. He found the Star Beast and the Shooting Sun Supreme in the Lost Land. Then, he left the Lost Land and headed for the southern region of the primogenitor realm. Ji Yufei rode on the Star Beast and moved quickly in the starry sky. Several hours later, he rushed out of the ancient starry sky and used major teleportation to appear in the sky above the southern region of the primogenitor realm. Where are those two fellows? Ji Yufei's spiritual force instantly enveloped a radius of hundreds of millions of miles. However, he couldn't find old freak Tian Xie and Yi Qingtian. Did they really enter the Supreme Tomb? Ji Yufei found it hard to believe. The Supreme Tomb was definitely the most dangerous place. Even Supremes could die if they entered. However, in order to achieve complete transcendence and become an invincible existence, Tian Xie and Yi Qingtian did not hesitate to enter the Supreme Tomb to find the so-called path. With a thought, Ji Yufei appeared outside the entrance of the Supreme Tomb with the Star Beast and the Shooting Sun Supreme. Not a single person could be seen outside the entrance of the Supreme Tomb. You guys stay here and guard. After saying that, Ji Yufei disappeared into the void before the Shooting Sun Supreme could say anything. He had escaped in an instant. At this time, Ji Yufei's return had shaken the entire cultivation world of the southern region. The previously arrogant Li clan was now terrified. They had no choice but to be terrified. Was Ji Yufei a pushover? The Chu clan was also cautious and restrained themselves. Meanwhile, Old Monster Chu was recuperating in seclusion in the basement of the Chu clan. Old Monster Chu had suffered serious injuries during the battle with Jiyu Fei. It would not be easy for him to recover to his peak state. In the depths of the Thunder Clan's ancestral land, a huge dragon rushed out of the ground. Billions of lightning bolts were emitted from the dragon, tearing the sky and earth apart. This is, on a huge mountain floating above the Thunder Lake. All the experts who witnessed this scene were extremely shocked. This was the execution of the Thunder Dragon, of all times. At this time, both the sky and the ground were filled with lightning bolts. Tribulation thunder descended and the entire void ahead was shrouded in lightning. This type of carnate lifeform was extremely powerful. It could compete with immortal-level experts as soon as it was born. And now, the power displayed by this Thunder Dragon was definitely enough to tear a saint apart. Even a quasi-supreme might not be a match for this Thunder Dragon. Roar! The Thunder Dragon roared at the sky, bathed in billions of lightning bolts and fire. Its extremely violent aura spread in all directions. The beast's tribulation had alarmed many people nearby. Just as the Thunder Dragon was undergoing tribulation, a figure descended from the sky and landed on the Thunder Lake Sacred Mountain. "Greetings, Master." The Thunder Tao Supreme and the others hurriedly knelt down when they saw the person. It was Jiyu Fei. "Get up." Jiyu Fei waved his hand and said, "Yes." Only then did Sovereign Lightning and the others stand up from the ground. Jiyu Fei's gaze then fell on the Thunder Dragon. The scales on the Thunder Dragon had fallen off from the lightning bolts. It was covered in blood and some parts were even charred. The Thunder Dragon was in danger, but no one on the sacred mountain made a move. This was the Thunder Dragon's tribulation. Once it survived, the Thunder Dragon would be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with a quasi-supreme. Jiyu Fei watched this scene, but he had no intention of making a move. Soon, the Thunder Dragon was destroyed in body and soul by the lightning bolts. Its body turned into ashes, leaving nothing behind. Just as Jiyu Fei returned to the Thunder Lake, the Celestial Race's emissary came. This emissary brought something that even Jiyu Fei was moved by. It was a letter of challenge. The Celestial Race's patriarch challenged Jiyu Fei to a duel at the Nine Heavens Imperial Court. When this news spread, the entire southern domain, and even the entire ancestral realm, was in an uproar. The Celestial Race's patriarch is finally going to make a move. Jiyu Fei's limelight is too strong. It's time for someone to step up and suppress him. Who is the stronger of these two experts? Countless cultivators were discussing Jiyu Fei's duel. 3 days later, the duel at the Nine Heavens Imperial Court was already a foregone conclusion. The Celestial Race's patriarch actually challenged Master. The Supremes under Jiyu Fei were indescribably shocked. This duel was definitely an unprecedented one, attracting the attention of all cultivators. Chapter 39:11. As soon as Jiyu Fei returned to the ancestral realm's Thunder Lake, the clan leader of the Celestial Clan sent a messenger to deliver a challenge. This shocked everyone. Is the Celestial Clan planning to use this opportunity to come out? The clan leader of the Celestial Clan is still alive. Jiyu Fei, this legend, looks like he's going to be out of luck. Once the news of the Tian clan's old clan master challenging Jiyu Fei spread, it shook the entire primogenitor realm. Almost everyone was talking about it. One should know that of the two main characters, one was a newly ascended supremacy, a recently risen legend who was invincible in the entire southern domain. Both Old Monster Chu and Li Changtian lost to Jiyu Fei. Jiyu Fei was considered the strongest supremacy in the entire southern domain. However, before this, the strongest supremacy was the clan leader of the Celestial Clan. The clan leader of the Celestial Clan had been in seclusion for too long. Nowadays, no one knew his name or remembered his deeds. Time can dilute everything, but the clan leader of the Celestial Clan was still publicly recognized as the strongest supremacy in the entire southern domain. Even Li Changtian and Old Monster Chu felt inferior. Of course, this didn't mean that Li Changtian and Old Monster Chu were afraid of the clan leader. Although the Tian clan's old clan master was stronger than Li Changtian and Old Monster Chu, he couldn't kill them. They had never fought against existences of this level before. In these 3 days, Gu Fei didn't go anywhere. Instead, countless cultivators came to the Thunder Lake. Some of them were Gu Fei's followers, others came because of his fame and wanted to join Gu Fei's side. Of course, there were also some who came to watch the show. Old ancestor Yingtian brought a few ancestors with him, but they couldn't see Gu Fei because he had already entered the Thunder Clan's ancestral ground in the depths of the Lightning Lake. Without Gu Fei's summons, no one was allowed to disturb him. The Shooting Sun Supremacy, the Thunder Dao Supremacy and the other supremacies were standing guard outside. Inside, there was a gigantic beast that was even taller than a mountain lying there, dozing off. The air that came out of the beast's mouth and nose formed a strong gale in the air, blowing away the clouds on the horizon. That mad Daoist was here as well. This guy directly charged into the depths of the Thunder Marsh. Even the Shooting Sun Paragon, the Thunder Dao Paragon and the other Paragons couldn't stop him. This guy was no joke when he was drunk. However, when Mad Taoist saw the gigantic beast that was bigger than a mountain lying in front of him, he immediately sobered up. Star beast. Or an adult. Mad Daoist shuddered and turned to leave. What a joke. This was an adult astral beast. Its battle prowess was comparable to that of a High Lord. Moreover, its fleshly body was extremely strong. Even the strongest extreme Dao treasure would not be able to harm this fellow. The gigantic figure of the astral beast was faintly discernible in the dusky Thunder Marsh. Around this gigantic beast, there seemed to be a star field faintly discernible. Powerful fluctuations of star power spread out. Even supremacies would feel their hearts palpitate. An adult astral beast was even bigger than a star. At this time, this astral beast had already shrunk its body. Otherwise, the entire Thunder Marsh would not be able to contain this gigantic beast. Wind and clouds gathered in the southern region. In the entire ancestral realm, experts who received the news all rushed towards the southern region. The battle between Gu Fei and the Sky Clan's patriarch was definitely the most eye-catching battle in history. In an instant, almost half of the ancestral realm's cultivation world's experts had gathered in the southern region. Even some reclusive supremacies leapt out and reappeared in the eyes of the world. That's the West Pole Temple's Buddhist Lord Midu. Didn't he perish in the previous era? So it was just a rumor. Someone saw a skinny, dark-skinned monk in a tattered kasaya, standing on a lotus throne that was on the verge of shattering. He was a bald monk who appeared to be a bag of bones and wore a tattered kasaya. The West Pole Temple was a major force in the ancestral realm's western region. Buddhist Lord Midu was one of the strongest existences in the western region since ancient times. There were also people who saw the figure of the East Sword Sovereign appearing near the Thunder Clan's ancestral ground in the Thunder Marsh. Experts from the southern region gathered and everyone was waiting. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye for cultivators. On the 3rd day, Gu Fei walked out of the Thunder Marsh ancestral ground. Master, the Shooting Sun Supremacy and the others had been waiting outside. When they saw Gu Fei, they hurriedly went forward and bowed, not daring to be negligent. Gu Fei didn't say anything. He directly soared into the sky and disappeared into the starry sky in an instant. The location of this battle was a strange place in the ancestral realm. The Nine Heavens Imperial Court was a huge ruin above the Nine Heavens. Some people said that it was the relic of the ancestral realm's ancient heavenly court. Of course, this was only a legend. Why isn't he here yet? Did Gu Fei become a coward? Above the Nine Heavens, in the endless ruins, cultivators stood everywhere. These cultivators all exuded the aura of the divine path. One should know that the Nine Heavens Imperial Court was above the Nine Heavens. Only sage-level experts could enter the Nine Heavens Imperial Court. Cultivators below the sage level could not even find the Nine Heavens Imperial Court. The Sky Clan's patriarch is not here yet, someone said. Whoosh. At this moment, a beam of God light descended from the sky and landed on the ruins. A figure appeared. This person was dressed in white and had white hair and a youthful face. There was no aura coming from him. This person looked like an ordinary person who had reached the realm of returning to one's natural state. The Sky Clan's patriarch had arrived. At this time, everyone was extremely nervous. The Sky Clan's patriarch was definitely one of the strongest existences in the ancestral realm's cultivation world. However, Ji Yufei was not someone to be trifled with. Time passed. 2 hours passed and Ji Yufei still did not appear. 4 hours passed. Many people who were waiting to watch the show were getting annoyed. Ji Yufei is really a coward. He actually doesn't dare to come. Someone said disdainfully. What bullsh *T extreme Dao legend. It seems like he is someone with an undeserved reputation. Above the Nine Heavens Imperial Court, many experts were mocking Ji Yufei. Many people did not think highly of Ji Yufei. One should know that the Sky Clan's patriarch was an old supremacy. No one knew the Sky Clan's patriarch's strength, but no one doubted him. Ji Yufei is only SOSO. I think he has long been scared out of his wits by the Sky Clan's patriarch. The Chu clan and the Li clan were discrediting Ji Yufei. Boom. At this moment, a loud sound rang out. The void trembled. A figure directly split the void and appeared in front of the Sky Clan's patriarch. You are finally here. The Sky Clan's patriarch looked at Ji Yufei indifferently. A light flashed in the depths of his eyes. You want to borrow my strength to break through? Chapter 39:12. The most dazzling battle of this era was about to begin. Above the Nine Heavens Imperial Court, two figures stood proudly. In the next moment, two shocking auras directly erupted from the bodies of Ji Yufei and the Celestial Clan leader. Ji Yufei revolved his mysterious technique. A faint layer of divine light of the Great Path was circulating on his exposed skin. The aura of the Celestial Clan leader was also constantly rising. The energy waves that rushed out from his body caused the surrounding void to tremble. Little fellow, today, I will let you see what invincible power is. The Celestial Clan leader looked at Ji Yufei indifferently. TSK. Ji Yufei secretly shook his head. How could invincible power be so easy to grasp? At this moment, all the spectators were nervously watching the two figures, especially the fellows from the Li clan and the Chu clan. The members of the Celestial Clan were confident in the Celestial Clan leader. In their opinion, Ji Yufei was definitely not a match for the Celestial Clan leader. Die! The old clan master of the Tian clan suddenly roared in anger and directly punched towards Ji Yufei. But what surprised everyone was that his punch was very slow, and it was slowly punched out. Although the speed was slow, the power of the Celestial Clan leader's punch continued to rise as his fist moved forward. Halfway through the punch, the entire Nine Heavens Imperial Court began to shake. When Ji Yufei saw this punch, his pupils involuntarily constricted. In his eyes, this punch was like a world crushing down on him. Although the punch of the Celestial Clan leader was slow, Ji Yufei was unable to dodge it. The supreme beings who saw this punch were all shocked. This punch of the Celestial Clan leader was incredible. It seemed ordinary, but it transcended all battle techniques, all divine abilities, and all magical arts. This punch was absolutely invincible. The Celestial Clan leader was able to unleash such a punch. This was the result of his countless years of battle experience and his own Dao. Even the supreme martial artists who were watching the battle from the side were unable to describe this punch. The entire Nine Heavens Imperial Court seemed like it was going to collapse. The Nine Heavens Imperial Court was the legendary battlefield of the Supremes. Even though it looked like a pile of ruins, it was incomparably stable. Ordinary Supremes wouldn't be able to shake this place at all. This was also the reason why this place could exist for so long. Good heavens! Ji Yufei couldn't help but admire him, because even he was unable to unleash such a punch. This punch was already enough to prove that the Tian clan's old lord was stronger than Li Changtian and old monster Chu. 10 Daos as one. Ji Yufei didn't dare to be careless. He immediately manifested 10 different types of perfect power of the Great Path that rushed out from his body. Then, they gathered and intertwined on his right hand. The power of the 10 great Daos collided with each other, and the energy fluctuations that erupted immediately multiplied. Rumble, Ji Yufei struck out with his fist, and the power of 10 as one also shook the Nine Heavens Imperial Court, which made the saints and supreme beings watching the battle inexplicably shocked. I'm afraid that these two aren't far from transcending. In the distant sky, a tanned and skinny monk wearing a tattered kasaya said with his palms together. That punch from the Tien clan's old monster is no longer within the scope of the extreme path. A supreme being said. That Jiyu Fei isn't bad either. He actually cultivated 10 perfect great Daos. His title of extreme path legend isn't just for show. Someone said. Boom. At this moment, Jiyu Fei's fist fiercely smashed onto the Tien clan's old lord's fist. A loud explosion erupted, and the entire Nine Heavens Imperial Court shook violently. The vast and mighty power directly caused cracks to appear in the surrounding void. The broken bricks and tiles on the ground instantly turned to dust. The earth shook, and dust flew everywhere. A large circular pit appeared in the ruins. 2 figures were directly sent flying. Seeing this scene, everyone was incomparably shocked. This Jiyu Fei actually blocked the Tien clan's old lord's punch. It was truly unbelievable. The power of that punch was definitely enough to destroy the heavens and earth. Even a supreme being in the mystic realm would not be able to block this punch. They would be directly destroyed in body and soul. How is this possible? The Li clan's 3rd elder arrived. He was dumbfounded when he saw this scene. As for the Li clan's 2nd ancestor, his expression was solemn. Swoosh. At this moment, the 2 figures rushed together, and a super great battle erupted. Whether it was Jiyu Fei or the Tien clan's old lord, their cultivation had already reached the end. If they wanted to take another step forward, they would need to transcend. They would need to transcend all restraints of the world. The Tien clan's old lord wanted to borrow Jiyu Fei's hand to allow himself to transcend and take that final step. This veteran supreme being attacked with all his might. All sorts of mystiques, secret techniques, and battle techniques were displayed from his hands. Every one of them had terrifying power that could split the heavens and earth and destroy everything. However, compared to the Tien clan's old lord, Jiyu Fei's attacks were much simpler and more direct. No matter how many mystiques you had, or how invincible your battle techniques were, I only needed 1 punch to break them. Moreover, each punch of Jiyu Fei's was fiercer than the previous one. This made the Tien clan's old lord extremely depressed. Their movement speed was extremely fast. Even sages could not capture their figures. Only supreme beings could track their movements. Master, the shooting sun supreme being and the others were extremely nervous. Because once Jiyu Fei was defeated, then the territory that they had painstakingly snatched back would become the territory of others. Master is invincible. The Black Wind supreme being, who was standing at the side, said indifferently. HMPH, invincible? What a joke. Let me ask you, in this ancestral realm, who dares to call themselves invincible? Suddenly, a voice came from the side. Everyone turned around and saw that the person who spoke was the Li clan's 3rd ancestor. Are you itching for a beating? The Thunderpath supreme being stared at the Li clan's 3rd ancestor. A powerful murderous aura immediately erupted from his body, causing the weather to change. What, you want to fight? The Li clan's 3rd ancestor stared coldly at the Thunderpath supreme being. The Thunderpath supreme being took a step forward. With a wave of his right hand, a bolt of lightning immediately descended from the sky and blasted towards the Li clan's 3rd ancestor. Every bolt of lightning directly tore through the void. A fight broke out at the slightest disagreement. The Li clan's 3rd ancestor's body flashed and he directly retreated over 10 miles away. The Thunderpath supreme being had no intention of letting the Li clan's 3rd ancestor go. He turned into a bolt of lightning and instantly caught up to the Li clan's 3rd ancestor. Then, he stomped down on him. Boom. Without any suspense, the Li clan's 3rd ancestor was directly stomped down from the sky by the Thunderpath supreme being. Enough. At this moment, a deep voice rang out. A figure directly appeared in the void and blocked the Thunderpath supreme being who was about to attack again. You. Chapter 39:13. The Nine Heavens Imperial Court was the battlefield of the Supremes. It was beyond the ancestral realm and beyond the Nine Heavens. Only sages could enter. Cultivators below the sage level could not enter this place at all. The battle between Jiyu Fei and the Sky Clan leader was taking place above the Nine Heavens Imperial Court. Only Supremes were qualified to come and watch the battle. The sages naturally wanted to watch the battle as well. However, the might of a Supremes was not something they could withstand. A wisp of the might of a Supremes could destroy the body and soul of a sage. Even those quasi-Supremes who had 1 foot in the Supremes realm could not withstand the might of a Supremes. Rumble. At this moment, the entire Nine Heavens Imperial Court shook. All the Supremes who were watching the battle were indescribably shocked. These two were too powerful. They could actually shake the Nine Heavens Imperial Court. One should know that this was the battlefield of the Supremes. Ordinary Supremes could not shake the Nine Heavens Imperial Court at all. There was a powerful force in the Nine Heavens Imperial Court that suppressed everything. Even Supremes would be suppressed in this place. When sages entered here, their cultivation would be suppressed. They would not be able to use their cultivation and would be like mortals. Only Supremes could fight in this place. "Little guy, you really surprised me," the Sky Clan leader said as he attacked. This was the extreme breaking power. Under this power, no matter how powerful one was, it would be useless. It could be broken in one strike. "You surprised me too," Jiyu Fei said indifferently. The extreme breaking power could only be broken by the extreme breaking power. He instantly broke through to the extreme breaking realm. His battle prowess increased to an unimaginable level. Boom! Bang! Muffled sounds of collision rang out continuously, like the sound of thunder coming from the primal chaos. The two figures kept colliding with each other, and every time they collided, a circle of transparent ripples would spread out in all directions. While Jiyu Fei was battling the Sky Clan's patriarch, Sovereign Thunder, and the others were facing off against the Li Clan's second and third primogenitors. "What, you can't wait anymore?" Sovereign Black Wind glanced at the second ancestor and the others disdainfully. "H, my master will not lose. Go back to where you came from," Sovereign Tianfeng said indifferently. He, the Sky Clan leader, is the first master of the southern region of the ancestral realm. Will your master be his match? Third ancestor of the Li clan sneered. At that moment, one of the Chu clan supremes and 3 other supremes from other large clans and sects stood behind the Li clan's 2 primogenitors. In terms of strength, the Li clan side was not any weaker than the Shooting Sun Supreme side. Tai Inzi, Blazing Sun ancestor, God, even you want to be my master's enemy? The sun-shooting supremacy glanced at the supremacies behind the 2 Li clan primogenitors indifferently. Among these supremacies, the Chu clan supremacies weren't included. However, the supremacies of the other great sects and clans didn't have any grudges with Jiyu Fei. Li Realm, Mountain Emperor, the Realm, and the Ancestors of the Sea, there was, and the Emperor of the Supreme Clan. Jiyu Fei's Mountain River Cauldron still imprisoned the essence spirits of the 8 Supreme Masters. Only Sovereign Thunder was released. He reorganized his supreme body and became Jiyu Fei's subordinate. Taoism friend Shooting Sun, we have no choice. Although your master has no grudges with us, we owe him a favor. Tai Inzi, who was shrouded in Xianyin black qi, said helplessly. That's right. The other old man, who was surrounded by divine fire, was also helpless. In fact, if it were not for the Star Beast, the 2 ancestors of the Li clan would have attacked Shooting Sun Supreme and the others. You can't bear the consequences of standing on the wrong side, Shooting Sun Supreme said indifferently. He knew Jiyu Fei's character very well. If he did not offend others, they would be lucky. Who would dare to offend him? The consequences of offending Jiyu Fei were very serious. However, Tai Inzi and Blazing Sun Ancestor God did not say anything about Shooting Sun Supreme's reminder. Haha, just now you said that your master would not lose. Everyone, look, isn't Jiyu Fei about to lose? At this moment, the third ancestor of the Li clan laughed and said. Everyone quickly turned around and saw that Jiyu Fei was being beaten back by the clan master of the Tian clan. This, the Shooting Sun Supreme and the others could not help but be shocked when they saw this. The combat power displayed by the clan master of the Tian clan was too shocking. His combat skills had already surpassed the scope of Dao. The power of his punches and kicks was stronger than any divine sense. The clan master of the Tian clan threw out 13 punches in a row and sent Ji Fei flying thousands of miles away. He crashed through a broken wall and slid on the ground for more than 10 miles before stopping. Not bad, you didn't explode from my punches. When the clan master of the Tian clan saw Ji Fei, who was slowly standing up from the ground, his pupils contracted. You're not bad either. You're already half a step into that realm. However, if you only have this level of combat power, you will definitely lose. Ji Fei stared coldly at the clan master of the Tian clan, who was walking towards him in the void step by step. Little guy, you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The clan master of the Tian clan said disdainfully. Again, Ji Fei did not say anything else. He stomped on the ground and the entire ground exploded. At the same time, he had already rushed into the sky and attacked the figure in the sky. Without holding back, Ji Fei punched out. The power of breaking the limit exploded and the fist force caused the void in front of him to collapse. The Heavenly Clan's patriarch reached out with his hand, as if he was grabbing all the Daos in the world. The void that had exploded was also caught in his hand. Even Ji Fei was grabbed by the clan master of the Tian clan. It was as if he was grabbed by an ancient giant. What? All the supremes who were watching the battle were shocked. The clan master of the Tian clan was too powerful. That was Ji Fei, a legendary Dao legend. He had actually grabbed him in his hand. At this time, the third ancestor of the Li clan was overjoyed. The shooting sun supremacy and the others looked pale. If Ji Fei lost, they would be in trouble. The Li clan had already started to sharpen their blades. Roar. At this time, Ji Fei roared angrily and shattered the clan master of the Tian clan's giant hand. Then, he pointed at the clan master of the Tian clan. Buzz. A sword wave immediately rushed out from the tip of his finger and instantly spread out, enveloping the old Tian clan lord within the sword wave. Me. The clan master of the Tian clan sneered. His body trembled and a ball of divine light exploded from his body, blocking the sword wave that was coming from all directions. At this time, Ji Fei's right hand grabbed the void. A divine sword immediately appeared in his hand. Kill. Without any hesitation, Ji Fei slashed down at the clan master of the Tian clan. The divine sword in Ji Fei's hand directly broke through the domain created by the clan master of the Tian clan and landed on his shoulder. When the Supremes saw this scene, they couldn't help but be shocked. The situation had changed too quickly. A moment ago, Ji Fei was at an absolute disadvantage and was being suppressed by the clan master of the Tian clan. But now, his sword had struck the clan master of the Tian clan. Bang! The clan master of the Tian clan's body sank and he knelt on one knee. In the next moment, a mysterious shadow rushed out from the clan master of the Tian clan's body and forced Ji Fei to retreat. The shadow then disappeared into the clan master of the Tian clan's body. Ji Fei was indescribably shocked. He never thought that the clan master of the Tian clan had actually cultivated such a sacred art. It was a primordial spirit attack, not an external incarnation technique. A simple primordial spirit attack was naturally unable to force Ji Fei to retreat. However, this was not an ordinary primordial spirit attack. The primordial spirit attack of the Tian clan master just now was definitely not weaker than his full strength attack. The clan master of the Tian clan slowly stood up. A sword scar on his shoulder was quickly disappearing. Little guy, the Tian clan master was enraged. How many years had it been since he was injured? Today, he was actually injured by a junior. This was hard for him to accept. How is this possible? The Tian clan supremes who were watching the battle were all dumbfounded. Ji Fei could actually injure their ancestor. Even the ancient supremes were dumbstruck. This Ji Fei is truly heaven-defying. Someone exclaimed. The clan master of the Tian clan was the #1 sovereign of the southern region of the ancestral realm. Previous chapter, next chapter, boom. In the next moment, the clan master of the Tian clan directly soared into the sky. His physical body broke through the void and directly arrived in front of Ji Fei. His physical body broke through the void. Ji Fei's 10 Daos of power was added to his body. His supreme martial body directly broke through the void and charged towards the clan master of the Tien clan, who was charging towards him. Previous chapter, next chapter. Boom. The two figures directly collided. This was a purely physical confrontation. Whoever's physical body was stronger would be able to suppress everything and defeat the other party. At this time, Ji Yufei and the clan master of the Tien clan were both in the extreme breaking realm, transcending all great Daos. Even a place like the Nine Heavens Imperial Court was pierced through. Previous chapter, next chapter. Bam! Ji Yufei's fist smashed onto the chest of the clan master of the Tien clan. The sound of bones shattering immediately came from the clan master of the Tien clan's body. However, at the same time, the clan master of the Tien clan also chopped at Ji Yufei's waist with his hand. Ji Yufei only felt a sharp pain. It was as if his entire body had been cut in half by a knife and he was sent flying. Both sides are injured. Everyone was incomparably nervous when they saw this scene. Ji Yufei was really too amazing. Even if he couldn't defeat the clan master of the Tien clan, to be able to fight to a draw with the clan master of the Tien clan was enough to shock the world. The two figures once again charged towards each other. The sound of bones shattering rang out continuously. Regardless of whether it was Ji Yufei or the clan master of the Tien clan, at this time, they had already fought with all their might. Especially the clan master of the Tien clan, he was even more shocked and angry. He was different from Yi Qingtian in the Lost Lands. He had already taken half a step into that legendary realm. However, even so, he still couldn't take down Ji Yufei. "Little guy, die!" The clan master of the Tien clan suddenly roared. In the next moment, a powerful extreme breaking force erupted from his body. Then, Ji Yufei only felt the world spin, as if he had entered another world. Chapter 39:14. The battle between Ji Yufei and the Heavenly Clan's patriarch attracted more than half of the primordial realm's supremes to spectate. The battle between the two powerhouses was earth-shattering. Even the battlefield of supremes like the Nine Heavens Imperial Court was almost destroyed. This shocked all the supremes. Rumble, the Heavenly Clan's old clan master, had finally used his trump card. As he waved his hands, the entire world seemed to turn upside down. In the next instant, only Ji Yufei and the Heavenly Clan's old clan master were left in the world. Ji Yufei felt as though he had entered another world. Where did they go? Why did they disappear? What's going on? The spectating supremes didn't see how Ji Yufei and the Heavenly Clan's patriarch disappeared. It was as though they had vanished into thin air. Master, the Shooting Sun Supreme and the others were shocked when they saw this. "Haha, look, I was right, wasn't I? That Ji Yufei is finished." The Li clan's third primordial ancestor laughed proudly. The supremes behind the Li clan's two primordial ancestors were also overjoyed. If Ji Yufei was killed by the Heavenly Clan's patriarch, it would be great news for them. Ji Yufei's territory was like a fat piece of meat. It was hard to imagine how many forces would try to snatch it after Ji Yufei's death. Even the forces from other regions would take advantage of this opportunity to enter the southern domain. At that time, not only would the entire southern region be in chaos, but the entire primordial realm would also be in turmoil. How can you imagine my master's abilities? The Shooting Sun Supreme stared coldly at the Li clan's third primordial ancestor. They had been restricted by Ji Yufei. If Ji Yufei died, they would also be in trouble. But now, they were alive and well. This proved that Ji Yufei hadn't been defeated. At the very least, he hadn't died. It should be known that Ji Yufei was an extreme legend in the primordial realm. If an extreme legend could be defeated so easily, he wouldn't be called an extreme legend. "Haha, you're still stubborn?" One of the Chu clan's supremes standing behind the Li clan's two primogenitors laughed heartily. The Chu clan was definitely Ji Yufei's greatest enemy. Old Monster Chu was even defeated by Ji Yufei and had no choice but to return to seclusion to recuperate. As a result, the Chu clan's prestige in the southern territory fell to rock bottom. Their influence was also greatly reduced. Some of the powers that had originally submitted to the Chu clan began to show signs of looking for other backers. The primogenitor's realm was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. It was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. When you're strong, there will be countless people following you. However, when you're weak, the countless people following you will leave you. This was the reality of the cultivation world of the primogenitor realm. After Old Monster Chu and Li Changtian were defeated by Ji Yufei, countless forces in the southern region had the idea of relying on Ji Yufei. No matter where it was, or what world it was, the strong would always be respected, and there would always be people willing to follow the strong. If it wasn't for the existence of the number one cultivation force in the southern region, Ji Yufei would have already unified the entire southern region of the primogenitor's realm. The battle between Ji Yufei and the Sky Clan's patriarch had a huge impact. It directly decided who the true overlord of the southern region would be. At this time, some forces were already rejoicing that they didn't choose to rely on Ji Yufei. Otherwise, it would have been a tragedy. In the end, the Sky Clan's patriarch was still stronger. Of course, it was still too early. The leaders of these forces weren't fools. They were still observing. At this time, the Shooting Sun Supremes and the Supremes of the Li clan were at daggers drawn. They were about to fight. At this time, a pitch-black crack suddenly appeared in the void in front of them. A beam of destructive light broke through the void and rushed out, sweeping towards the Li clan's third primogenitor. What? The Li clan's third primogenitor was shocked and hurriedly dodged. However, the speed of the destructive light was too fast. The Li clan's third primogenitor avoided being hit in his vitals, but the destructive light still penetrated his left shoulder. Roar! The Li clan's third primogenitor roared angrily. He naturally knew who the attacker was. However, it was precisely because he knew who it was that he didn't dare to be impudent. Master, the Shooting Sun Supremes were both surprised and delighted. All the Supremes who saw this scene felt their hearts tremble. An extreme legend couldn't be humiliated. The Supremes in the Li clan's camp all had ugly expressions. Especially the Li clan's second primogenitor. He dared to be angry, but didn't dare to say anything. As for the Chu clan's Supremes, they looked like they had eaten a fly. At this time, Ji Yufei was trapped in the Sky clan's extreme break domain. Although he was suppressed, he didn't completely lose the ability to fight back. Little guy, admit defeat obediently, and I will spare your life. The Sky clan's patriarch's voice came from all directions. Even with Ji Yufei's cultivation and battle prowess, he couldn't sense where the Sky clan's patriarch was. Haha, Ji Yufei suddenly laughed loudly. You want me to admit defeat at this level? What a joke. Ji Yufei shook his head and smiled bitterly to himself. He hadn't even shown his trump card yet. If that's the case, then go to hell. The Sky clan's patriarch wasn't going to be merciful. He had lived for countless years and had seen countless outstanding people. He had even personally killed many people who were said to be heaven-defying. Although Ji Yufei was an extreme legend, so what? If he wasn't of use to him, then he would just kill him. The next moment, the entire extreme break domain shook. Endless extreme break domain rushed towards Ji Yufei from all directions. It was terrifying. You're not the only one with a domain, Ji Yufei sneered. In the next moment, a ball of primordial divine light surged out from his body and blocked the destructive extreme break force. The Sky clan's patriarch was shocked. He hurriedly activated an even stronger extreme break domain. The mass of divine light outside of Ji Yufei's body began to shake violently. Countless Dao patterns appeared and intertwined on the mass of divine light, forming ancient Dao diagrams. The ancient Dao diagrams stimulated the strongest power. This power surpassed the Dao and was the extreme break domain. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to block the Sky clan's patriarch. It's the primordial divine light. The Sky clan's patriarch's voice resounded. Extreme break domain, primordial heaven opening. Ji Yufei roared. An extremely violent primordial divine light directly surged from his body. Everywhere the primordial divine light passed, the void turned into primal chaos. Then, the turbid air sank and the clear air rose. The primal chaos evolved into a heaven and earth, directly supporting the Sky clan's extreme break domain. The power of the primordial heaven opening continued to expand outwards. In the end, with an earth-shattering explosion, The Tien clan's old clan master's extreme breaking domain had actually exploded. How is this possible? The Sky clan's patriarch's figure directly appeared in the Nine Heavens Imperial Court. Then, he crashed into the ruins, causing the entire earth to shake. When everyone saw this scene, they were all stunned. The Sky clan's patriarch lost. The group of Supremes was dumbfounded. The Supremes of Li clan and Chu clan were stunned. Tai Enzi and Burning Sun God Ancestor looked at each other. They finally understood why Shooting Sun Sovereign would say those words to them. At this time, Jiyu Fei's figure appeared in the Nine Heavens Imperial Court. He walked over step by step with his hands behind his back. Preposterous. The Sky clan's patriarch stood up from the ground. He was covered in blood, his clothes were tattered, and he looked extremely miserable. He stared at Jiyu Fei fiercely. It was as if the sun, moon, and stars were rising and falling in his eyes. If you obediently admit defeat, I will spare your life. Jiyu Fei came in front of the Sky clan's patriarch and said indifferently, "You." The Sky clan's patriarch was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Didn't he just say those words to this guy? Even the Sky clan's patriarch never thought that the situation would change so quickly. Boom. The Sky clan's patriarch directly charged towards Jiyu Fei. His speed was extremely fast. Stupid. Jiyu Fei said disdainfully. He still stood there without moving. However, his martial body emitted a powerful and terrifying aura. He directly let the Sky clan's patriarch collide with him. In the next moment, a figure flew up and smashed onto the ground. For a moment, he could not stand up. When everyone saw this scene, they were speechless. The strength of Jiyu Fei's martial body exceeded that of all the Supremes. Because he was a martial Dao supremacy, his martial body was so strong that even Black Turtle supremacy, who was famous for his defense, could not compare to him. The Sky clan's patriarch actually dared to get close. Wasn't he courting death? The Sky clan's patriarch has lost. When the Supremes saw this scene, they felt as if they were in a dream. Everything was so unreal. At this time, the Sky clan's patriarch stood up again. Pieces of red scales rushed out from his body and surrounded him. Very quickly, a set of battle armor was directly attached to the Sky clan's patriarch's body. In the next moment, a shocking aura immediately erupted from the Sky clan's patriarch's body. The entire Nine Heavens Imperial Court was shaking, as if it could collapse at any time. Some of the Supremes had already taken out their self-refined Dao artifacts to protect themselves. "Little fellow, I didn't expect you to actually force me to use my trump card." The Sky clan's patriarch stared at Jiyu Fei and said in a deep voice, "This is your trump card." Jiyu Fei was a little surprised. It was just a set of scarlet blood battle armor, and it could turn the tables. Buzz. Jiyu Fei raised his right hand and a Dao artifact immediately appeared. An aura that seemed to originate from the primordial era spread out from the Dao artifact. Wheel of the Heavens. When the Sky clan's patriarch saw the Dao artifact in Jiyu Fei's hand, he could not help but turn pale with fright. At this moment, the Wheel of the Heavens suddenly trembled. Then, rays of black light flew over from all directions and directly collided with the Wheel of the Heavens. The clanging sounds did not stop. The Wheel of the Heavens in Jiyu Fei's hand was actually repairing itself. In the next moment, the might of the Wheel of the Heavens spread out, intimidating everyone. "Haha, I didn't expect to find these things here." Jiyu Fei looked at the Wheel of the Heavens in his hand and could not help but be surprised and happy. Swoosh. Chapter 39:15. The Celestial Clan's patriarch disappeared. This made it hard for the spectating Supremes to believe that the Celestial Clan's patriarch was once the #1 supremacy of the Southern Domain. The Celestial Clan of the Southern Domain was not only the most ancient race in the Southern Domain, but also one of the most ancient races in the entire ancestral realm. Although the Celestial Clan had gone into seclusion, this race had never declined. In every generation, there would be stunning existences appearing. And the Celestial Clan's patriarch was publicly recognized as the strongest Supremes in the Southern Domain. But now, this supremacy, who was so powerful that all Supremes trembled, was actually defeated by Jiyu Fei. At this time, the entire Nine Heavens Imperial Court was silent. How is this possible? The two spectating supremes were dumbfounded. How could the patriarch be defeated? In the eyes of all the celestial clansmen, the celestial clan's patriarch was invincible. He was invincible in the entire southern domain, able to compete with the strongest existences in the ancestral realm. But today, the celestial clan's patriarch's invincible legend was shattered by Ji Fei. Let's go. The two supremes of the celestial clan directly retreated. Ji Fei did not stop them. His battle with the celestial clan's patriarch was a fair battle. There was no enmity between the two, and he was not a bloodthirsty madman. The most dazzling battle in the southern domain of the ancestral realm ended. When the news spread, the entire southern domain was shaken. The supremes of the Li clan and Chu clan were dumbfounded. Especially the third ancestor of the Li clan. His eyes almost fell to the ground. He was shocked and angry. How could this Ji Fei be the celestial clan's patriarch's opponent? Not only the third ancestor of the Li clan, but all the supremes also found it hard to believe. The celestial clan could not accept this result. But whether they didn't believe it or found it hard to accept, the matter of Ji Fei defeating the celestial clan's patriarch was real. The honorable martial artists of the Li clan and the Chu clan chose to retreat immediately. Ji Fei didn't attack the Li clan and the Chu clan either, directly letting them leave. This made Ji Fei's subordinates, the Black Wind Supremacy and the others, very unwilling. How could they let these fellows from the Li and Chu clans off so easily? However, Ji Fei did not make a move. The Black Wind Supremacy and the others were also very helpless. Roar! That astral beast suddenly roared. The entire Nine Heavens Imperial Court trembled. Those supreme beings who had yet to leave were all indescribably shocked. They didn't expect that this astral beast was actually so powerful and terrifying. Is that Ji Fei's mount? Someone exclaimed. Since ancient times, Ji Fei was probably the only person who had used an adult star beast as a mount. It had to be known that an adult star beast's combat strength was comparable to a supremacy's. In this battle, not only did Ji Fei defeat the celestial clan patriarch, but he also repaired a portion of the Wheel of the Myriad Worlds. The Wheel of the Myriad Worlds, the number 1 Dao tool in the primogenitor realm, was too heavily damaged. After this repair, some of the parts that were missing were restored. This number 1 Dao tool in the primogenitor realm could be repaired. This was completely a pleasant surprise. Even Ji Fei did not know that there were some fragments of the Wheel of the Myriad Worlds scattered in the Nine Heavens Imperial Court. It was really hard to imagine what kind of impact this number 1 Dao tool in the primogenitor realm had received to be so heavily damaged. It had to be known that this Wheel of the Myriad Worlds was a supreme Dao tool that even a supremacy could not damage. Could it be that someone had transcended back then? Ji Fei took out the Wheel of the Myriad Worlds. The aura of the Myriad Worlds spread out and enveloped the entire Nine Heavens Imperial Court. However, no more fragments of the Wheel of the Myriad Worlds flew out from the Nine Heavens Imperial Court. Seeing that Ji Fei took out the Wheel of the Myriad Worlds, the supreme beings who had yet to leave all changed expressions. The Wheel of the Myriad Worlds was the number 1 Dao tool in the primogenitor realm. Legend had it that whoever could control this Dao tool would be able to unify the entire primogenitor realm and become the invincible ruler of the primogenitor realm. It was also because of this ancient legend that every time there was a commotion on the primogenitor sacred mountain, countless supreme beings would descend to the primogenitor mountain to fight for this Dao tool. Since ancient times, the supreme beings that died in the primogenitor mountain range were probably second only to the supreme tomb. Return and go into seclusion. Ji Fei kept the Wheel of the Myriad Worlds, then led his subordinates and left the Nine Heavens Imperial Court. He then returned to the Thunder Dao Sovereign's Thunder Lake. He directly entered the depths of the Thunder Lake to go into seclusion and did not allow anyone to disturb him. Ji Fei obtained many benefits from the battle with the Sky Clan's patriarch. The Sky Clan's patriarch was worthy of being a half-step transcendent being. There were many things that Ji Fei could learn from and study. The Sky Clan's patriarch had walked a long way on this path. Compared to Yi Qingtian in the Lost Lands, the Sky Clan's patriarch's path was undoubtedly correct. This was because the Sky Clan's patriarch did not need any external help to break through to the legendary realm. This was the path that Jiyu Fei wanted to walk. To achieve true transcendence, it was impossible to rely on external help. He could only rely on himself. Jiyu Fei had already grasped the power of breaking through limits. He was only half a step away from reaching the half-step transcendent realm. This was also the reason why Jiyu Fei was so anxious to go into seclusion. He knew that after his battle with the Sky Clan's patriarch, he should have received some sort of enlightenment. The Sky Clan's patriarch should also be in seclusion. Once such a person came out, his cultivation would definitely increase greatly. At that time, he might not be this super antique's opponent. Although Jiyu Fei had defeated the Sky Clan's patriarch on the surface, no one knew better than him that the Sky Clan's patriarch still had the strength to fight. If the Sky Clan's patriarch fought with his life on the line, it would be hard to say who would win. Chief Shooting Sun, why has Master been in seclusion recently? Black Wind, who was guarding outside the valley, asked the Shooting Sun Supreme curiously. You're asking me? Who should I ask? The Shooting Sun Supreme said impatiently. Black Wind was a lazy fella. When he met a strong enemy, he would immediately admit defeat. He would either run away or hide at the back. All the Supremes under Jiyu Fei didn't like this fella. Black Wind Supreme shrunk his neck and didn't dare to ask anymore. He was the weakest among these Supremes. His fists weren't strong enough. If he could admit defeat, he couldn't force it. In the eyes of Black Wind Supreme, nothing was more important than his own life. Master's cultivation should increase by another level. A figure sitting cross-legged in the void, surrounded by lightning and fire, suddenly spoke. This person emitted a terrifying destructive aura. He was like a peerless supreme lightning ancestor. He was the master of the Thunder Lake, the Lightning Dao Supreme. The cultivation of the Lightning Dao Supreme wasn't below that of the Shooting Sun Supreme. In fact, it might even be above him. The Lightning Dao was the Dao of destruction, punishing on behalf of the heavens. Among those of the same level, the Lightning Dao Supreme was superior. Everyone was shocked when they heard this. Their master was already a High Lord. If his cultivation went up another level, wouldn't he become the first person in history to surpass the extreme grade? Surpassing the extreme Dao was just a legend. Master really has the ability to surpass the extreme Dao? The Wind Saint Supreme said in shock. Who knows? The Shooting Sun Supreme suddenly sighed. Regardless of whether Jiyu Fei could become the first person to surpass the extreme Dao, he only cared about one thing. Jiyu Fei mustn't die. If he died, all of them would be buried with him. At this moment, a deafening snoring sound came from afar. The Star Beast was like a huge mountain, lying on the ground and sleeping. This guy is so carefree. He eats and sleeps. He sleeps and eats. The Black Wind Supreme said with a bitter smile. While Jiyu Fei was in seclusion, the old clan master of the Sky Clan passed down an order in the ancestral land of the Sky Clan. He was about to go into seclusion, and no one was to disturb him during this period of time. When the news of Jiyu Fei and the Sky Clan leader going into seclusion spread, everyone was shocked. The Li clan and the Chu clan were even more restless. The Li clan and the Chu clan had offended Jiyu Fei badly, especially the third progenitor of the Li clan. He was scared out of his wits. If Jiyu Fei came out of seclusion, his cultivation would increase greatly. At that time, no one would be able to suppress Jiyu Fei. The Li clan would be exterminated by Jiyu Fei. Jiyu Fei wasn't a soft-hearted guy. It wasn't like he hadn't killed people before. That won't do. The third progenitor thought about it and finally walked into the depths of the ancestral land. There was an ordinary stone house. In front of it was a stone table and a few stone stools. A figure sat cross-legged in the stone house. Big brother, you have to help me this time. The third progenitor came to the outside of the stone house and said to the person inside. This person was the first progenitor of the Li clan, Li Changtian. Li Changtian was the first progenitor of the Li clan. He was the strongest of the three sovereigns of the Li clan. He was at least at the peak of the extreme path. He could even break through to the breaking limit temporarily. This kind of existence was only slightly weaker than the Tian clan's old lord, but he was stronger than old Monster Chu by a level. Li Changtian didn't say anything in the stone house. Big brother, if you don't help me, your little brother is dead. The third progenitor saw that Li Changtian didn't care about him and panicked. Big brother, please save me, the third progenitor said anxiously. Third brother, what are you doing? At this time, an angry shout came. A figure rushed in from outside and came directly behind the third progenitor. He reached out and grabbed the third progenitor. Second brother, only big brother can save us. If we wait for Ji Fei to come out of seclusion, we'll all die without a grave, the third progenitor said anxiously. The second ancestor couldn't help but be startled when he heard this. He then said, what are you afraid of? Do you really think that Ji Fei will dare to come here again? With Li Changtian overseeing the Li clan's ancestral ground, it was no longer the same as before. It should be known that even the Sky clan leader wouldn't dare to casually enter the ancestral land with Li Changtian in charge. But the third progenitor wanted to say more. You bastard, back off. Chapter 39:16. Ji Fei's every move attracted attention from all directions. The reason was simple. It was because he defeated the Celestial Clan Master, the #1 supremacy of the Southern Domain. However, no one expected that after Ji Fei defeated the Celestial Clan Master, he didn't take the opportunity to conquer the Celestial Clan and dominate the Southern Domain. Instead, he went into seclusion. Soon after, the news of the Celestial Clan Master's seclusion also spread. The Southern Domain's two greatest powerhouses actually went into seclusion at the same time. This shocked all the supremacies. One had to know that both Ji Fei and the Celestial Clan Master were existences at the end of the extreme Tao, yet they both went into seclusion at the same time. In other words, in that battle between them, the two of them had unimaginable harvests. Perhaps someone is going to prove the true Supreme Great Tao. An ancient autarch said. The true Supreme Great Tao? Isn't the Extreme Tao already the Supreme Great Tao? Someone was shocked to hear this. In the cultivation world, the Extreme Tao realm was already publicly recognized as the Supreme Great Tao. Could it be that this wasn't the true Supreme Great Tao? Only those at the peak of the Extreme Tao could understand the words of the old supremacies. The end of the Extreme Tao was not empty. Above the Extreme Tao, there was an even higher realm. However, to all the supremacies, that was only a legend. Perhaps some people walked a different path and realized relative eternity, but that wasn't the true Supreme Great Tao. It could only be said that those people walked the wrong path. Ji Fei's seclusion made some people anxious. They thought of all kinds of ways to take Ji Fei's life. They didn't have the ability to do so, so they went to invite others or offered treasures that even supremacies coveted. Whoever could kill Ji Fei would get the treasures. There was a blacklist in the primogenitor realm. The people on the list were all existences with bounties on their heads. Every one of them had done something that shook a region. Almost everyone on the blacklist was a fiendish devil, a great villain. However, just a few days after Ji Fei went into seclusion, his name was already on the blacklist, and he was even ranked in the top 10. This made everyone's eyeballs fall out of their sockets. This Ji Fei is really a fierce man of his generation. He actually rushed into the top 10 of the Dark List and even squeezed out the first demon of the Ancestor Demon Realm. Is he even stronger than the first demon of the Ancestor Demon Realm? Some people were shocked to the extreme. Ancestor Demon Realm? 4,000. The two Ancestor Devils were both on the blacklist, and the first Ancestor Devil was ranked 8th. But now, Ji Fei had come up. Ji Fei had pushed the first Devil Primogenitor down one spot. Ji Fei was in 8th place, while the first Devil Primogenitor was in 9th place. I didn't expect Master to be on the blacklist, and ranked 8th. When the news reached Black Marsh, the Shooting Sun Supreme and the others were stunned. Who dared to place a bounty on Ji Fei? This was simply courting death. Of course, the blacklist did not necessarily have to have a bounty on it. The mysterious person who ranked the list was largely based on the danger level of the experts in the Ancestor realm. Being on the blacklist meant that one was a dangerous person. The top 10 of the blacklist was an extremely dangerous existence. The first demon of the ancestor devil primogenitor was only ranked 9th on the blacklist, and even Jiyu Fei was stronger and more dangerous than him. This was unbelievable. However, after some people learned of Jiyu Fei's battle records, they no longer said anything. Jiyu Fei rose rapidly in the Ancestor Realm Southern region. He annihilated the Wood Race, defeated the 9 Supremes, subdued the Shooting Sun Supreme, and recently defeated Supremes Old Monster Chu and Supremes Li Changtian. In the end, even the first Supremes of the Southern region, the old clan master of the Sky Race, was defeated by him. The old clan master of the Sky Race was ranked 2nd only to the first demon of the Ancestor Demon on the blacklist. Ever since he lost to Jiyu Fei, he was ranked 10th. In the top 10 of the blacklist, the Ancestor Realm Southern region occupied 2 spots. This was the best result of the Ancestor Realm Southern region on the blacklist. Jiyu Fei's bounty on the blacklist had also reached a jaw-dropping level. Carnate 5 Elements Origin Divine Beads, Immortal Extreme Young True Gold, Primordial Fortune Divine Jade, and so on. There's also a Peak Supreme's Origin Essence Chi. All the experts in the Ancestor Realm were discussing the bounty on the blacklist for Jiyu Fei. These heaven-defying treasures made even Supremes envious. Killing Jiyu Fei would allow them to obtain so many good things. This made some people extremely excited. With a great reward, there would always be brave people. Some people had already started hunting down Jiyu Fei. Haha! Someone actually dares to kill Master. How laughable. In front of a valley in the depths of the Thunder Lake, the Shooting Sun Supreme and the others who received the news felt that it was unbelievable. Master's ferocious might shook the world. Who could be his match? Don't let your guard down. The Shooting Sun Supreme swept his gaze across the crowd and said indifferently, Jiyu Fei, come out and die. Very soon, an angry roar was heard from outside the Thunder Lake. In the next moment, a powerful figure barged into the dark swamp from the outside. Violent and powerful sovereign power radiated from the figure. You're courting death. The Shooting Sun Supreme stood up and extended his left hand. A divine bow appeared in his hand immediately. Without saying anything else, the Shooting Sun Supreme fired an arrow at the silhouette. An arrow light tore through the void and arrived in front of the silhouette. Bam! The arrow light suddenly exploded when it was about 3 feet away from the figure. Countless Tao patterns dissipated in the void along with the explosion of the arrow light. A group of transparent ripples spread out. This, the Shooting Sun Supreme being was shocked, and the other Supremes were even more shocked. The person who came was powerful to the extreme, and everyone was extremely cautious. Wang Ming, it's you? The Thunder Dao Supreme stared at the figure opposite him and said coldly, Wang family's Royal Supreme? Everyone was dumbfounded upon hearing this. The Wang family of the primogenitor realm was a great clan that had existed for countless years. The foundation of the Wang family was not inferior to the heavenly clan at all. The Wang family was a great clan in the central domain of the primogenitor realm. They were extremely powerful and there were even 4 Supremes in this clan. With the 4 Supremes protecting the Wang family, no one dared to offend them. Wang Ming was the Supreme with the lowest cultivation among the 4 Supremes of the Wang family. However, this guy actually had the cultivation of a Great Success Supreme. A Great Success Supreme was definitely an unimaginably powerful existence. Me. Since you know it's me, why don't you ask Jiyu Fei to come out and wait to be captured? Wang Ming was extremely arrogant. He did not even glance at the Shooting Sun Supreme and the others. You! The Shooting Sun Supreme and the others were shocked and furious. Are you stronger than the old clan leader of the Heavenly Clan? The Dark Path Supreme stared at Wang Ming and said solemnly, How can you understand my capabilities? Wang Ming said proudly, Ridiculous. A voice rang out directly in everyone's heart. Who's the one boasting shamelessly? Come out right now. Wang Ming was instantly enraged when he heard that. At that moment, 2 huge balls of light suddenly lit up in the void in front of Wang Ming. A figure that was even bigger than a mountain appeared in the void. Wang Ming couldn't help but gasp when he saw that. Star Beast. And it's an adult Star Beast. Wang Ming had a bitter expression. He had heard people say how impressive Ji Yufei was previously, but he did not believe them. However, it now seemed that Ji Yufei was definitely the real deal. He was not someone with an undeserved reputation. It must be noted that an adult star beast was not that easy to subdue. Since Ji Yufei could subdue an adult star beast, how weak could his cultivation and combat strength be? Countless shooting Sun Supreme and the others had come in an overbearing manner. However, they were now frightened by the adult star beast that Ji Yufei had subdued. "Ha ha! You're just a coward. How dare you flaunt your prowess here? What a joke!" The Black Wind Supreme laughed out loud. "You're courting death." Wang Ming roared furiously and directly attacked the Black Wind Supreme. Countless transparent ripples spread from his body, and the power of the Great Tao instantly enveloped the entire area. At the same time, a huge palm print directly descended from the sky and blasted toward the Black Wind Supreme. What? The Black Wind Supreme was shocked. When he wanted to dodge, he was horrified to find that he couldn't even move a finger. How can this be? The Black Wind Sovereign's shock was no small matter. The Shooting Sun Supreme, Thunder Tao Supreme, and the others hurriedly attacked. Violent supreme power erupted and blocked the huge palm. In the next moment, all the supreme martial artists were sent flying. Just as the Black Wind Supreme was about to be slapped to death by Wang Ming, the roar of a beast suddenly rang out. The entire void shook, and a violent power shook the heavens and the earth. With a blood-curdling scream, Wang Ming was directly sent flying. The star beast made its move. With just a roar, it sent Wang Ming flying. Wang Ming was extremely cunning. He actually took advantage of the rebound force to directly retreat thousands of miles away. Then, he directly shattered the void and escaped without a trace. The Black Wind Supreme was surprised and delighted that he survived. The Shooting Sun Supreme and the others also heaved a sigh of relief. What Central Region's Wang family? They're all cowards. The Heavenly Wind Supreme sneered. The adult star beast intimidated all the people who came to kill Ji Yufei. What a joke. This adult star beast's battle strength was comparable to that of a supreme master. If the star beast made its move, the fourth son of the Wang family, Wang Ming, would definitely die here. Time passed. Unknowingly, Ji Yufei had already been in seclusion for 3 months. During these 3 months, dozens of experts who wanted to kill Ji Yufei were either chased away or directly killed. The cultivation world of the primogenitor realm was a world where the strong preyed on the weak. Between enemies, it was either you die or I die. Some especially powerful existences were handed over to the star beast to deal with. Existences below the mid-level supreme martial artist were handled by the Shooting Sun Supreme and the others. On this dark night, a mysterious black figure directly appeared outside the valley where Ji Yufei was in seclusion. A cold and gloomy aura spread from the black figure. Scram! The Thunder Tao Supreme roared at the black figure. Chapter 39:17. In the Thunder Lake, where Ji Yufei was cultivating in seclusion, a mysterious black silhouette appeared. This shocked the Dark Path Supremes, the Shooting Sun Supremes, and the others who were guarding outside the valley. Even Wang Ming from the Wang family of the Central Region had been chased away. Could this mysterious black silhouette be even stronger than Wang Ming? The black silhouette didn't say a word and immediately attacked. A black aura spread from his body. Wherever the black aura enveloped, the void was destroyed silently. Death aura. Could it be the terrifying existence that walked out of the Supreme Tomb? The Shooting Sun Supremes exclaimed. When Ji Yufei and Li Changtian fought, 2 mysterious existences were alarmed. One was the existence in the blood-colored sarcophagus, and the other was the middle-aged man in hemp robes who walked out of the Supreme Tomb. However, the black silhouette was shrouded in black aura and couldn't be seen clearly. Even the Shooting Sun Supremes and the Thunder Path Supremes couldn't see his true appearance. The black aura spread and the entire world turned dark. Even the light seemed to be devoured by the black aura. The Shooting Sun Supremes and the others hurriedly activated their divine light to protect themselves. However, the moment their divine light came into contact with the black aura, it became faint. Countless Tao patterns on the divine light dissipated. The black aura could actually destroy the Tao patterns of the Supremes. The shooting Sun Supremes and the others were shocked. They hurriedly retreated and wanted to escape from the range of the black aura. However, in the next moment, they realized that the black aura was suppressing them to the point where they couldn't move at all. How is this possible? Everyone was shocked. They originally thought that it was just an ordinary death aura. They didn't expect the black aura to be able to imprison them. A wisp of aura as heavy as a primordial sacred mountain. How is this possible? The Thunder Path Supremes exclaimed. Although he tried his best to activate the divine light around him, it was still gradually dimming. Could this be a mutated primordial aura? The Shooting Sun Supremes was shocked. The legendary dark primordial aura? The Black Wind Supremes were extremely shocked. One must know that the dark primordial aura was an extreme power that was the complete opposite of the primordial aura. Where there was life, there was death. This was a cycle, a heavenly Tao, a samsara. Grand Mist energy was the ancestral energy of the world, it could give birth to all. However, on the contrary, the primordial dark gas represented death, extreme death. Death chi was also divided into different types. Dark primordial chi was the most powerful and terrifying of all death chi. A single strand was enough to kill a supreme. Star Beast Sovereign, aren't you going to make a move? The Shooting Sun Supremacy roared. He couldn't hold on much longer. Once his protective divine light was completely corroded by the primordial darkness chi, he would also be instantly obliterated by the primordial darkness chi. Being obliterated by the primordial dark chi would result in the annihilation of one's body and soul. While the Sun-Shooting Supremacy and the others were in danger, the Star Beast was still sleeping soundly. This left the Sun-Shooting Supremacy and the others speechless. Roar. A deep roar rang out. Then, a beast that was as large as a mountain stood up from the ground. An adult Star Beast. The Black Shadow couldn't help but be surprised to see this giant beast. Phew. The Star Beast merely spat out a breath, and the violent power of the stars turned into a storm of stars, directly blowing away the mass of black gas that pervaded the air. This was the might of a supreme beast that could compete with a supremacy. It blew away the primordial dark chi with a single breath. The Sun-Shooting Supremacy and the others immediately heaved a sigh of relief. However, at that moment, the black gas that had been blown away gathered again and swept toward the Sun-Shooting Supremacy and the others. The black gas was like a towering black wave that slammed down on the Sun-Shooting Supremacy and the others from the sky. At that moment, 4,000 the Star Beast opened its mouth and inhaled. The overwhelming black gas that was sweeping toward them actually gathered in its mouth and was directly swallowed by the giant beast. The Star Beast could swallow the stars, the sun, and the moon. An adult Star Beast could even swallow the stars of a celestial domain with a single breath. Although the primordial dark chi was powerful, it was still swallowed and refined by the Star Beast and turned into its power. An adult Star Beast could refine all the essence in the world, including the primordial dark chi. This Star Beast was comparable to the legendary heaven-swallowing beast. Buzz. While the primordial dark energy was being devoured incessantly by the Star Beast, a rumbling sound suddenly resounded throughout space. After that, the black figure directly appeared in front of the Star Beast and smashed his fist towards it. Simple, direct, and violent. The mysterious Black Shadow's punch didn't use any mystical skills or great techniques. It was just a direct display of power. This punch had already surpassed the scope of Tao and was somewhat close to the extreme breaking realm. However, it still wasn't the extreme breaking realm. Boom. With a loud sound, the Star Beast that was larger than a mountain was continuously pushed back by the mysterious Black Shadow's punch. The ground shook with every step it took. What? The Shooting Sun Supreme and the others were astonished when they saw this. This Star Beast wasn't an ordinary Star Beast. It was an adult Star Beast, yet it was pushed back by a punch from the mysterious Black Shadow. If even the Star Beast Venerable couldn't stop this guy and allowed him to enter the valley, the consequences would be unpredictable. Roar. The Star Beast was enraged, and a terrifying and monstrous star power erupted from its body. In the next moment, a universe actually appeared around the giant beast. Spots of starlight appeared around the star beast like twinkling stars. These spots of starlight immediately turned into shocking sword lights that pierced through the mysterious black shadow. However, the black shadow casually extended its right hand and pressed forward. The countless starlight sword lights that pierced through the star beast were all blocked as if they had hit a transparent wall. The black shadow's right hand trembled slightly, and the countless starlight sword lights shattered in the void. A huge black hand slapped forward with great force. Boom! With a dull sound, the giant beast was pushed back again. This time, the shooting Sun Supreme and the others were dumbfounded. They knew that someone had offered a sky-high price to kill Ji Fei. However, Ji Fei was a super expert ranked 8th on the black roll. The person who dared to accept this mission was definitely not simple. After the mysterious figure pushed the star beast back, he took a step forward and entered the valley where Ji Fei was cultivating in seclusion. Like a gust of wind, he passed through the protective formation that Ji Fei had set up and appeared on a huge rock. He then looked around. Everything he saw was lush and full of vitality. No one would have expected that there would be such a great place in the Thunder Lock. Meanwhile, Ji Fei was sitting cross-legged on a huge rock in the middle of the valley. He was digesting the things he had obtained from the battle with the Sky Clan leader. At this moment, Ji Fei's aura started to change. It became more down-to-earth, just like a real mortal man. Ji Fei's current state was in the most complete state of returning to his original state. At this moment, the mysterious black shadow was like a cloud of black smoke. He came to the opposite side of Ji Fei and stood in the air, staring coldly at Ji Fei. However, Ji Fei did not seem to know that the black shadow had come to the opposite side of him. He was still sitting on the huge rock and cultivating with his eyes closed. How could he break through the limit and become an eternal existence? This was the question that Ji Fei had to think about. He wanted to walk his own path to become an expert. He could only learn from others. In the end, he could only rely on himself. Seeing that Ji Fei was ignoring him, the mysterious black shadow was furious. He reached out and pressed his palm against Ji Fei. A cloud of black gas appeared from his palm and spread out. The black gas enveloped Ji Fei. However, a shocking scene appeared. Although the black gas had already enveloped Ji Fei did not seem to be afraid of it at all. This was dark primordial energy. Being enveloped by this deathly aura, even a supreme being would face the fate of having his body and soul destroyed. How is this possible? The mysterious black shadow was shocked. He wanted to retract the black gas. However, at this moment, Ji Fei, who had been closing his eyes, suddenly opened them. He opened his mouth and inhaled, immediately devouring the surrounding black qi. The mysterious black shadow was shocked. The primordial dark gas that he cultivated was useless against this guy. You dare to provoke me? You have guts. Ji Fei looked at the mysterious black shadow calmly. In his eyes, this guy was already a dead man. The mysterious black shadow did not speak. Instead, he suddenly soared into the sky, trying to escape. Since you're here, don't leave. Ji Fei said calmly. Then, he grabbed upward with his right hand. The black shadow flew toward him involuntarily and was caught in his hand. What? Everyone who had just rushed into the valley and saw this scene was inexplicably shocked. Ji Fei had actually grabbed this mysterious black shadow in one go. It was truly inconceivable. It was just a clone, and yet it dared to cause trouble for him. It was simply courting death. What kind of person was Ji Fei? He could see through this guy at a glance. The mysterious black shadow's cultivation was only at the peak of extreme grade. He had not even broken through to the extreme grade secret realm. However, this black shadow could suppress the star beast. This was really unbelievable. The mysterious black shadow's real body was definitely much stronger than the clone. Bam! Ji Fei exerted force in his right hand. The mysterious black shadow in his hand exploded and turned into a cloud of black gas. Then, he opened his mouth and directly swallowed it. Just as Ji Fei swallowed the mysterious black shadow, in the deepest part of the supreme tomb of the primogenitor realm, a roar came from a cave that swallowed the death qi. The entire cave shook. Endless black gas rushed out of the cave and enveloped the entire sky. The void between heaven and earth was silently annihilated. Who dares to destroy my clone?